cloud if I can. And I wanted to welcome our newest member, Mr. Mason Bendigo, all the way from Nashville, Tennessee.
How's everybody?
Right? Nashville, Texas? Nashville, Tennessee.
Tennessee.
It is Tennessee.
Tennessee.
Yeah. How would you say it in a Nashville accent, Mason?
Just Nashville, Tennessee.
That's not.
I mean, my accent's kind of.
You're not from there originally, right?
No, not originally. I'm from Texas originally.
So Mason, while we've got you here, brother, let's learn about you. The floor is yours. You can take 5, 6, 7 minutes to let people know some of your background, how we might be able to serve you today.
Cool. You and Evans are going to get tired of hearing this spiel all over again, huh?
Not yet. Nowhere near it. Still good.
Yeah. So my name's Mason Bendigo here in Nashville, Tennessee, as Laban said. And basically it started this podcast called Breathe in Air, Everyday Action, Extraordinary Mindset about 2.5 years ago. It came up from a culmination of things, but really just to, one, give value to people, and two, to be able to build something that's of your own, right? Something that you can take with you and something that really reflects your true character and who you really are. So it started out as a passion project, and then it's morphed now into something where, here we are, and I'm really wanting to invest time and money and resources into being able to grow the podcast into something that's more than just a passion, into something that I can reach more lives, help more people, and be able to put more time and resources into. So last meeting we had, I actually was challenged to get a little bit more of a tight mission statement for kind of who I want to serve. And so I'll go ahead and give a whirl at that for the first time here. But really who I'm trying to serve is helping high value men optimize their mind and body to attract new people and opportunities. I think my background, a little bit of my background, I was a collegiate athlete, quarterback of the football team, captain of the football team. And, there's a lot of masks that you wear with that when you grow up, and that's your background. And that is, part of your identity. And so as I got out of athletics and went through a whole lot during that time and learned a lot, I kind of had to look myself in the mirror and be like, what are things that I have portrayed myself as, or things that I've done that I'm not proud of? And what are the innate gifts that I feel like I've been blessed with that I can use to help others? And how have I been using those gifts up to now? And so that was really the paradigm shift for me to say, all right, I want to go all in on using these natural talents and abilities that I have to lead people in the right direction instead of maybe where I had been in the past. And so really throughout this process for me, what I want to accomplish is to be able to one, build a rock solid offer, right? We would call it a grand slam offer, and be able to set up kind of a funnel and set up my website and my socials and start really having a clear, tight vision on how to scale the podcast to reach more people and to make money for the show as well.
Love it. Thank you.
That was short and sweet enough.
And also our youngest cohort member by a few years.
I take offense to that.
What are you, Gordon? You 31?
No, 34.
34. He's like, what are you, 26, Mason? 29?
Gordon's
26.
like a senior citizen now compared to Mason.
I know. I was just with a 26-year-old in Colorado who's got like the most ridiculous business. And I'm like, God, how are you only 26?
I know, right?
Like a wise 76-year-old.
We're going to stop comparing ourselves to younger people.
Right. Mason's he's got plenty of years to impact many, many lives. So that's going to be awesome.
So Mason, before we come back to you with a specific want, and maybe you could formulate this if you haven't already, I'd love to introduce our next newest member, Cordelia Gaffar, the ultimate joymonger, dialing in from Chicago. No.
Close enough. No, it's very far from there. I'm actually in Charlestown, West Virginia, which is in the Eastern Panhandle, on the DC side. It's
Oh, my
considered
goodness.
Washington, DC area. Yeah.
I don't know why. Okay, sorry. Same deal for you, Cordelia. You've attended a little bit of another meeting a little while ago, but you come back into the fray and you remember now. And yeah, tell us who you are.
Yeah, I'm also a podcaster, but I'm mostly an author. Specifically, I would say I was a poet before I was an author. And so this year, my 9th book is going to be a book of poetry. I'm also an executive transformation coach, and I've created a process that I call Replenish Me. And so the basis of that is that self-nurturing allows you to free yourself and mitigate burnout. So I would say for me, through my passion projects of having my Free to Be podcast, writing my books, I've actually found a way to maintain a frequency of joy that replenishes me. And so that's why I call myself the ultimate joy monger, and yeah, and help people to reveal their own joy. That's who I am at the core. That's simple.
Amazing.
You got five amazing children.
Oh, right. So then there's that. I have 6 children.
You just had another one since we last spoke. No.
Yeah, but she's 8 years old, so I don't know how that worked. Yeah. And my oldest one is about your age, Mason. She's 26. Well, no, she's not. She's 22.
That's great. So maybe Cordelia,
Nice.
while we're going to look at Mason's, what he needs help with, and then you can come up with a specific ask, or if you need more time, then we can wait until later in the mastermind. So Mason, are you clear on what you want to throw to the floor about what you want specific help with?
Yeah. I would say the biggest question that I had, and I'm early on in this process, right, of trying to build out the offer and build out more value that I can give to individuals, would be, the biggest success that you guys had and the biggest failures early on in building offers, and kind of some of the roadblocks and some of the things or tips and tricks that you guys have used to help that process and go about, attracting new clients and leads.
We'll throw it to the floor.
I have something that's not like a mechanism of any type, but mine was more of the biggest mistake I made was I undervalued the value I could provide others. And so I priced accordingly. Right. So now that's what I would suggest is before you come to this group and like you're doing and share with us when you figure out what it is and start looking at the value that you're going to provide, and maybe let the group give you some feedback on what you should ask for people to invest to be a part of it. Because I find that at least most of the people that I consult and coach with that are newer into it, or they just price themselves way too low. They think that they don't value what they have, when what they have is extremely valuable to those that they serve. And I think that they're worried that the pool of buyers is going to be small if they charge a lot. And I'm sure there's plenty of people in here that can tell you that it's really the opposite, that there are so many people that want to give you a lot of money to make sure that they get that result faster and easier and with more certainty. So that's what I would say.
I would echo what Evan said. I think that's very true. The other thing I would say is that the market will tell you what message works, and you have to test the market. You got to figure out things to test but I don't think you necessarily should look for other people to come up with things that'll work as much as you creatively thinking about your target market and figuring out what emotionally drives them, and then testing that, because again, the market will tell you what works.
Absolutely.
And one of the things I'll throw in too that I've noticed with a lot of my clients here recently, they're so freaking focused on marketing that they're not focused on sales, and they're wondering why they're not getting any sales. So starting out, I would definitely say, like John, echoing that too, get out there and make offers. The more offers you can throw out there, the more opportunities you can discover if it's something that's connecting, and it'll also help you make money faster than if you sit around worried about building out some crazy 30-step marketing funnel, right?
I agree with those. The book that I haven't read, but I really follow and love him is Alex Ramosi, $100 Million Offers. I mean, they've sold over 1 million copies. So yeah, just go through that. But the piece that I see with a lot of my clients when we're building out a mastermind is very few people know exactly who their buyer is, you know, and I'll like quickly, like I've read Lululemon Chip, the founder of Lululemon's memoir, and he goes, our avatar is a 32-year-old female who makes 6-figure in corporate. Her parents were divorced. So growing up, she would spend every other weekend at her dad's. Her dad didn't know what to do with her. So they kind of like took her to sports. She went through college and was athletic and then got into yoga and stuff after. So like literally he knows exactly the magazine she's reading, the bar that she hangs out, the yoga class. And like for me, when I'm working with our clients, like when we hone in the avatar that easy, I'm able to walk into a room of 100 people and go, I need to talk to those 5 people. And I don't worry about talking to the other 95 people because I know exactly who it is, right? Like, you know, Evans does a really good job. Like he knows, like our clientele, you know, I've had a call with John, is they have a $2 to $10 million business that is taking a lot of their time, and they want to create a mastermind, which is going to generate at least $1 million of revenue in the next 6 months. That's a drastically different, basically business pillar, right? Like I know where those guys are hanging out. They're hanging out at EO, at YPO, at masterminds like this. I know where to find those people. And when you have that, that's when a high ticket offer really comes into play, right? Like I know these guys have disposable income. I know they want to invest. I know they're in masterminds because that's where I've met them. So, you know, like I love, Jim knows this story from, God, I'm totally drawing a blank of his name. He lives in Arizona, but like, you know, he started the NSA, and he goes, when he was selling cassettes door to door, he would walk into a business person's office, and if they had personal development cassettes on the wall, he would try to sell. If not, he would just walk out, because he's like, I know I can sell you information, or I know I can sell you a mastermind, but if not, like to get you to buy personal development or a mastermind with nothing is such a hard sale versus you're already bought into the concept.
Cavett Robert, he was the founder of NSA.
No, but who was the guy that had the cans?
Joel Weldon.
Yeah, Joel Weldon.
Yeah, I was just in touch with him day before yesterday.
Yeah.
He's still
So
at it, by the way.
I left him a voicemail about half an hour ago.
Yeah. So Joel, 6X comes in cans.
That comes in cans, not in canots.
So I was probably like 24 listening to his CDs. He had like 18 CDs on selling, and I would just like put them in the car as I was driving to do valet and speaking during the day. So yeah.
Mason, does that help?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the niching down part is where I really have to do some brainstorming and thinking on, you know, that exact avatar. Naturally have a lot of things that I like to dabble in and I like to get curious about. And so that's going to be where I really have to be like, what is that exact
So
avatar to that
Mason,
extent?
to give you a little bit of insight, it's usually who you were a year ago.
Mhm.
Ooh, that's good. That's real good. I like that.
And
You
I-
know,
and I think-
I wish Zach was here, because Zach and I spent some time together a week ago or so, or a couple weeks ago, and he showed me like his avatar, and it was like what Gordon was sharing. I mean, I was just like, it, you know, he had the name. I mean, every single thing about this person, I felt like I could just visualize them in my mind. So he would be somebody good to connect with in the group when y'all get a chance, and just maybe ask him, you know, like how did you formulate, how did you come up with that? Because he's got like a nice paragraph. I think he said he keeps it on his wall so he can just see it every day. So he's reminding himself who that person is.
Like, and Evans and some of these other guys might dispute me on this. Like, I really don't believe in like Facebook marketing and just like shotgun approach marketing. For the last 100 days, I basically sent 100 DMs every single day, because I know who my avatar is, and I'm not trying to sell them anything. Like, I'll reach out to, we'll just like use Les Brown as an example, right? Like, I'll send Les a message on Instagram. Hey, do you want to get on some podcasts? Right. And then he's like, yes. And I go to Evans. Hey, Evans, do you want Les on your podcast? And Evans like, of course I do. Why would I not? Right. So I'm able to create value for Evans, and I'm able to create value for Les. And then after like 5 or 6 exchanges, they're like, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, I run, an agency for the Grow and Scale Masterminds, or we sell art, or any of the different offers, but I'm not leading with it. And that's what, we've all been hit up on LinkedIn. It's like, you just added me and now you're trying to sell me. Like, do you want to be friends, or you just want my Rolodex? But when you know your avatar, like, the pain points of this person, right? Like, a guy like Alex Hermosi is, hey, you're trying to sell more books. Like, let me buy 100 books, or let me buy 10 books, or let me get you on a podcast, or like really getting into their mind. Like, what are their pain points, right? Like, for you, what were your pain points a year ago? Like, what do you know now that you wish you knew a year ago? And how do you, I like knowing basically nothing about you, and just kind of like Laban's intro is, what is it like when you finish college sports? How do you figure out that next phase, right? Like, I love hiring college athletes, because you've been dedicated for a decade of your life. You now are super dedicated. You're in super good fitness, but like, I want to teach you sales and how to make 100 grand traveling the world, right? So we recruit a lot of guys. We train them sales. We run them through our system. And if you go out and do 2 hours of outreach a day, you're going to be a millionaire within the next couple of years, plain and simple.
So,
And then you use John Mitchell's 12 minutes and you become like a decatur.
Let me reinforce something Gordon just said. I think that's brilliant, Gordon, because everybody doesn't want to do the hard stuff, and they perceive that what you just said to do is hard, but it's really, once you get rolling and man up and do it, it's highly effective, because we live in this world where there's so much clutter that it is virtually impossible to cut through the clutter of Facebook and all that. But when you have just like Gordon was saying, when you reach out and just play the numbers, which is what he's really talking about, and you're giving value, it's the way to go, I think.
And Jim could say this, because like, Jim's one of the top sales trainers on the planet in the history of the world. Like, I hate to, like, it's a numbers game.
Yeah.
Like, I have a 42% response rate, and I'm not verified. Once I get verified, I know I'm going to go over to 60%. And like,
Yeah.
I enjoy it, because I wrote a book called The Connection Effect. So like, I enjoy, like, I don't know, I'll throw myself under the bus. Like, I either message basically models or business people. Because what do the business people want? They want to hang around the models. What do the models want? They want to hang around the business people. So when I hosted dinner for 20 people, and like, you come to it and you're like, Jesus, I like want to go get plastic surgery before I show up, because it's like all models and, super successful people. But that's very strategic.
Sounds like the mastermind.
It is
Almost.
our mastermind that you run.
And Mason, I don't know what your thoughts on this. So just to give people some context, because you still hold down a day job, right? You still got a gig, and how wonderful would it be if you want to be able to do what you love doing with your podcast, which is in the top 5% of downloads globally, to do that full time. So is that a want? Is that a question that you need help with, how to take that brave next leap into being fully self-sustaining and being a full-time entrepreneur?
Yeah, I would think so. I think that's definitely what I want to do. I know that's definitely what I want to do. That was part of the reason why I started it 2 years ago. And as time's gone by, that desire has grown and grown. The good thing with the job that I work now is in sales. And, you know, what Gordon was alluding to in terms of cold outreach, I do that all the time for the podcast, for guests. I do that all the time in sales to get people on the phone and to get people on video conferences and all that. So I'm glad that I'm in an environment where I'm honing skills that I can utilize anywhere and for anything. That was kind of what I was looking for in the job that I'm doing now. So I'm always trying to, garner those skills, and I definitely want to.
One of the markets that I'm looking at and keeps coming up is now with college kids able to make money, and the NIA rule, like you're probably a lot more familiar in it than I am. And I'm like probably not going to do this because it's just whatever. It's a little boring for me, but creating like a social media agency and like the person I talked to is a friend, and his brother's an MLB player now, and he played for the University of Georgia baseball. But everyone in the space, like you have to be a lawyer in order to negotiate, right? So you potentially get like a lawyer on retainer who can negotiate the contracts, and then you do like, they're more thinking about brand deals and bigger stuff. But if you're able to create like a social media agency that just focuses on like high school seniors, like because kids now are able to make money in high school, but sometimes like it screws their eligibility and they don't really know. So if you're able to get them like senior year to help them build out the TikTok, the Instagram, like all that, and then you just outsource all of it to VAs in South America or whatever, and I can help you with that as well. But creating an agency that you build like the personal brand. And one of the things, I used to be a drug addict from 17 to 20 and a college athlete. So I get a lot of the pressures, but we didn't even have to worry about Snapchat or Instagram stories and all these things of like just taking a photo, like with Michael Phelps. And, I'm actually down the street from him right now, but like the photo of the bong, like these kids at 18 years old with 1 million followers, like they have no idea the social impact. And being a college athlete, what is it, like 95% of kids are like never going to make any money from sport. And so how do you set them up while in college to build this personal brand so that when they get out, like I want to hire them, or Laban wants to hire them, anyone wants to hire them, because they have this massive following and people are know, liking, and trust. So we can go sell a bunch of Lululemon, or we could go sell a bunch of podcasts or whatever that looks like. And then remind me, I'll connect you to Andrew East. Do you know Andrew in Nashville?
I don't think I do.
So Andrew and Sean run one of the top family brands globally. He was an NFL player. She was an Olympic gold medalist. They have a huge podcast, and they're in Nashville. They have basically a creator house, like their own house, and then they have a creator house. So send me a note and I'll connect you to him.
Yep, I will do that.
Gordon, how quickly do you think we can get Mason? Well, he can get himself fully self-sustaining, self-funded, full-time entrepreneur, doing what he loves. What kind of timeframes should we throw out there?
Well, it depends if he listens or tries to go do it himself, but 30 days. And it also like depends on the number, right? Like you do a high end, like if you do I don't know, like it depends. Like I think you could go get 2 clients at $5,000 that like you do their social media for kids in college, or like they've just graduated college. Like, who did you play for?
Lindenwood University in St. Louis.
Okay. So like, I mean, St. Louis basically has, let's say they have 5 universities, right? Like you hit up all the coaches. So this is a strategy that we're going to use and we haven't deployed it yet. I'm going to pick Northeastern schools and I'm going to target golf teams because like, so for art, like we sell a lot of art. And so we represent artists and then we use art as a tax strategy and investment vehicle for like our wealthy clients, right? So I'm going to go to schools, not Ivy League schools, but like schools in the Northeast because they couldn't get into Ivy League. They played golf. So like their parents are really wealthy. So they grew up around money. They understand that. So what am I going to do? Instead of trying to find like the 15 golfers on the team, I'm just going to go to the coach. And I'm going to like cold call the coach and say, hey, this is what I'm looking for. Has anyone graduated that like checks off these boxes that is looking to basically make 6 figures a year? Like our thing is teaching kids how to make $10,000 a month. Yes, you can make more, but like if you can, so what I've traveled the world the last 3 years and my thing is like, when you teach kids how to make $10,000, the world of possibility opens, right? And so, hey, do you know any kids, like they're not going to get into the JP Morgans or like the investment banks. Like they're only hiring like Ivy League kids, right? But they want to make, 6 figures. Hey, can you introduce them to me? I'll run them through our training, which is a month. And then my thing is like, we give you a laptop and you can travel around the world working a couple hours a week. And our clients are hanging out at the Formula One in Austin or at Monaco, or like I spent a week in Ibiza this year and like, Monterey Car Week and all these things where we just get a house and, host events and experiences. Right. So, for you is going to St. Louis and say, picking those schools. Do you know anyone who, now that they're like, I was in Miami in a sauna and the kid like just signed he's with the University of Miami. He just signed like a $60,000 deal his senior year.
Yeah.
Right. So how do you get $5,000 or $10,000 from a handful of people and create value for them?
Yeah, for me too, what that reminds me of, I still have friends that are in the league now and stuff as well. So that's a quick lever that I could pull. And then I think with the NIL with collegiate athletes now, that's a new wave, right? This has only been a couple of years since they've been allowed to have these larger deals.
2 years and nobody knows, like nobody knows how to do it and like the legality. And it's like, you can sell your likeness and like, this is where you like go to one of the big like I would say reach out to Gary Vee and like kind of his team, right? Cause like and I kind of hate to say this, so it's like, I follow what Gary's doing, right? Like, because he's always cutting edge and he's always having these conversations. Like we're doing a lot in the NFT space. Like that's another avenue that you can sell really high price point for kind of nothing. And like you create value on the back end.
Yeah. Definitely thought about Web3 and you said live events as well. I think that's something I want to start curating and creating those experiences and, instead
like,
of
so basically like if ball players, right? Like you're able to get 2 or 3, you can get people that will pay you $2,500 or $5,000 to like literally just go to dinner with these people.
Yeah.
Hold it in Nashville, like, get the place that I have a bunch of friends is at Troubadour, which is a Discovery Land Group, right? Like everyone there at Troubadour is a multimillionaire. Yeah,
Troubadour is nice.
Right. So like I have an open invitation to somebody who's building a big property there. Right. You get in with those guys, like, and this is like a drastically different business. You go to them and say, hey, look, I want to teach football to your kids, and you get 10 parents to write you a check for $1,000 to run like a camp once a week. Troubadour would pay.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Would pay like, oh, I've played college, whatever. Like you can't get freaking Drew Brees to be your quarterback coach, but you can get Mason.
I think eventually, and kind of as I've started brainstorming that, I do want to get back around the game and around, like you said, things you wish you knew when you were playing, or with this changing environment, how could I help them? And equip them to skip that phase of identity crisis that I had when I got out, and then ways that they can utilize what they already have in their arsenal by being a collegiate athlete to, benefit them monetarily and, really catapult their success when they get into the real world. So I think that's going to be part of the offer eventually.
That's awesome. And Mason, the reason I wanted to bring it up, and I didn't mean to embarrass you or not that you would, but I think this cohort of people are all self-sustaining entrepreneurs, last I checked. And there's absolutely no reason why, if it's something you wanted to do, that you could be doing what you adore in no time at all. And I really would encourage you to leverage, as you get to know the people in the group and what they are brilliant, what they are the best in the world at, and people that you're energetically aligned with. So did quick show of hands, did anyone else get any value from the knowledge that was shared there? Right. This is why we do what we do. And thank you for everyone's patience. Mason, is there anything else quickly that while you're on the screen?
I would just say, I want you guys to utilize me as well. I'm always here trying to learn from everybody. And at the same time, if there's anything that I can help you with, I would love to, whether that's, diet or biohacking or training things that I've been through, rehab, pains physically that you guys are feeling, anything like that. And then on the other side, kind of being in between millennial and Gen Z, seeing a lot of this transformation. I have a pretty sizable following on Instagram, roughly about 20,000 followers there. So I've started to figure out ways to grow those platforms, content strategies, and interacting with people, at least specifically to the podcast, and how that has helped my growth there. So there's a few avenues where I think I can help provide value there. And I want to be able to do that for you guys as well, if anything comes to mind. If not, I want you to be able to leverage my network as well. We've had over close to 150 podcasts now. So had a lot of CEOs and entrepreneurs and people in the health and wellness space, people specific to meditation and all kinds of people. So anything that I can help with, I would love.
And then what would you say you're best in the world at?
It's a good question. I think it's something that I'm still formulating, to be honest.
What do you reckon, Gordy?
What do I reckon?
Have you got any thoughts about his world's best? Because we're still working on it.
I can't answer that. I mean, I know what my hypothesis would be, but
What? Just say. What
I want the yeah. What's the hypothesis?
the hypothesis is just consistency.
Yeah.
And all of us on this call, we've only been successful because of our consistency. And anything that we've accomplished is because of our consistency. And I was just at a lunch with one of our collaborators, and who's in one of the masterminds that I run. And my success comes down to three things. It's very easy. Consistency, like sending 100 DMs a day. Like nobody's going to do that, right? Like you guys aren't going to do it. Mason, you might, but like you're probably not. You're not going to do it for a long enough time.
Right.
Surrounding myself with successful people. Laban knows this because like he's hung out with me I hang out with people like John. Like I was supposed to go to Austin and like hang out with John, and like John will like probably introduce me to like the head coach of freaking University of Austin, Texas, right? Like, but if I don't go to Austin, like when I come to Nashville, I'm going to hang out with these people at Troubadour. You know how I met these people at Troubadour? Because my friend Jesse Itzler, this is his wealth manager. So I saw a post and I like started DMing them. And like I DM'd this guy's wife, hey, do you want to be on my friend Andrew and Sean's podcast? Oh my God, I'd love that, blah, blah. You're welcome to come stay at Troubadour whenever you want, right? Like surround myself with successful people. And the third piece is create value. That might be like when Laban and I chat is I take off my shirt because he usually doesn't have a shirt on in his call, right? Like,
but I always hear this, Laban.
Dude, he doesn't do it with you because he knows you're in better shape than him. He only does it with people he knows he's in better shape.
I'm coming for you, Mason. I'm back in the gym now, throwing 10
Oh,
around.
see, case
Let's
in
go.
point, right? But success is that easy. And for your world's best is I'm going to say consistency, and then that curiosity around health and wellness and like optimizing.
Yeah.
Right. And this, like, and Jesse says this because he's an owner of the Atlanta Hawks, which is funny because Laban has a hat for Atlanta sports team. And when he speaks at the NFL Combine, you know what he tells those guys? Everyone here is pitching investments. Here, if you invest your money, we can make you like 10%, like Goldman Sachs and all this. And Jesse goes, fuck all that. Invest in your health, because if you get one more season, you're going to make way more money than your returns. And so if you're able, like LeBron James spends $1.5 million a year on his health and wellness.
Yep.
Why? He's like 40 years old and he's still playing high level. Look at Serena Williams. Like, how many freaking, Roger Federer just announced his retirement at 41. When most professional tennis players don't last past 30.
Right.
Look at Tom Brady. So that's what I would say your world's best in.
Let me add one more thing to something, Gordon, you said. So Gordon, you're successful because you see the power of determination, right? And I see that Mason, in your case, you have to look at what is unique to you. You've been an athlete, and you know the challenges and tribulations of all that. I think that in your story is what you need to do and solve the problem that you had. I mean, that's in what I do. That's what I sort of discovered ultimately is solve the problem I had when I was in my 30s and 40s. Well,
you're still in your 40s, John. Don't age yourself that quickly.
I wish. I'm not so sure I wish that, but I think the point is you got to do what you best know, and the challenges of athletes. And I'm the mental coach for the University of Texas's head coaches, and there's 20 of them, and I see this world all the time, and there's a lot of opportunity. And NIL is going to change because it is totally screwed up now, and we're going to get legislation that rebalances the playing field. And so I'd be careful around that because the landscape's going to change.
What do you mean? You can't pay players through nonprofits from the alumni to get the best?
Well, let me give you an example. I was talking to the athletic director yesterday, and we were talking about how Nick Saban just said that in 2021, they got his football team collectively got $3 million through NIL, and it was distributed between 24 players, but none of it came from what they call a collective. Each individual player had to earn whatever they earned. But at the University of Texas, like if you're an offensive lineman, you get $50,000 every year. Every offensive lineman gets that. Well, and they call it a collective, but it's all screwed up. It's great for the haves, not so great for the have-nots. And University of Texas is one of the haves, and so is Alabama. But it's not good long term, and so they're going to have to fix it. And the fix, from what I hear from the athletic directors, is through legislation, congressional legislation.
Yep, sounds about right. It's not like players aren't already getting paid. Now it's just a little bit more out in the open.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you want to see how Mason looks without a shirt on, follow him on Instagram. I'm coming for you, Mace. Coming for you.
Chill.
Yeah, boy.
That's your proof that it works, right? That's all that is.
I'm going to have to go in just a second for another call, but I put a statement up there that I'd like to get some feedback on. Just look at that. You can reflect on it later, drop me a note, or you can comment on it now if you want. I've just got a minute or so to go.
Well, Jim, before you go, brother, if you got time, give us your urgent help.
Urgent want help. What I want is more people enrolled in my Going Pro mentor program. So I just need outlets, lists, ways to get my message out to the folks that are most likely to enroll in that.
Who does it suit? What kind of person's going to
It
benefit?
suits people who make their own decisions. It suits, like salespeople at the top of their game, business owners, especially personal service providers like us, people that sell our expertise. And so that's the ideal avatar client for it. It's just the way I set it up is I tell people, look, you can be good at something and dabble in it for a long, long time, but the day you declare I'm going pro, all the rules and expectations change. That's when I'm your guy. So let me guide you through that Going Pro process and be your mentor and be your like virtual vice president on tap.
So the only piece that I would change about what you wrote is 40, what did you say, 46 years?
Yeah.
I'd just say like for decades.
Well, the first part is the only marketing part. World's best at growing and sustaining a professional speaking career. The rest of that was a description for those of you on this call. So I get your point, Gordon. That makes good sense.
And I'm working that through.
You think any still alive?
With one of our other clients who's been a life coach for 43 years. I'm like, quit telling everyone, like, I don't want to work with somebody who's been around for 43 years, but like, I want to work with an OG in the space.
Yeah. Yeah. So I definitely am an OG. And when they presented me in China,
you don't know what that means, Jim.
Yeah. Original gangster. Anyway, when they presented me in China, they said, world's #1 speaking trainer, which kind of goes with what Laban just wrote, professional speaker coach, although I don't want to be positioned as a coach, but they said world's #1 speaking trainer. And I said, what? And my agent said, look, you got every credential known to man in your field. You've been at it for decades and decades, a full generation plus. You're still in it 100% today and still great on the platform and getting wonderful responses from the audience. And you teach other people how to do that. So, he says, whether you like it or not, that's the way I'm presenting you. And he did. And of course,
Jim, sorry to cut you off. It's the formula that seems to work really beautifully is, like my father would say, smile, less is more, and who gives a rat's ass, right? But the less is more point, and the more it's non-quantifiable and intangible, so that you cannot be held to account unless they create a world's best courage coach competition that's held out of Las Vegas every year.
I understand. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So and then you can elaborate. So people say, hey, Laban, nice to meet you. What do you do? I'm the world's best courage coach. And they go, wow, what does that look like?
Yeah.
I teach people how to take bold, massive, and courageous action to facilitate miraculous outcomes. And I do that through speaking, coaching, mastermind, like all the different hats that we wear.
Yep.
It just facilitates an open dialogue where people are genuinely interested, the ones that are, in what you do, and you're giving them the clarity that the second, third grade level people comprehend. That's all.
Got it.
So
have you ever heard of a courage coach?
Never have. My other guy's waiting now, so I got to run, but thank you all. I appreciate it very much. Great to be with you. Thank you for putting this together, Evans, Laban. Thanks,
Love
Gordon.
you, Jim.
Okay, see you.
See you, brother.
Bye. Bye, Angela. Bye.
I never get to
Okay.
have a conversation with Jim. He's always gone.
I'll give you his phone
Reach out to
number.
him. Ping him.
Please,
happily
because
do.
I want him on my podcast. I'm just like, I put my hand up. Hello?
Have you got a
Go on.
podcast?
Yes.
Oh, tell us all about it. What's going on?
My turn yet?
Go for it.
what about Cordelia? She's new. Doesn't she go next?
Cordelia will benefit greatly by seeing how more people ask for questions, if I'm not mistaken, Cordelia. Are you enjoying watching here and observing?
I am, and I have to leave a quarter after the hour, so there's that. But
So you got 25 minutes?
I'll be really quick, and then maybe
Okay.
Cordelia will go. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Well, how about I'll just let you know, like my podcast launches in October, and it's called From Powerless to Powerful. So because I've come from an industry of working in the sex industry and domestic violence, suicidal attempts, things like that, I want to be able to bring hope and encouragement to people who possibly, like I've had the same dream for 27 years to be a speaker and to encourage people around the world. And it's taken a long time to happen quickly. And so my podcast is anyone for basically, I mean, we've all been through stuff, right? So whoever's been through whatever they've been through, that's made them feel a little bit powerless to powerful, to whatever that looks like for them. Doesn't have to mean you're a millionaire, you've made it. I don't care about that. Yeah, that's fabulous and well done, but there's more to it than that. Yeah, so basically that's what that's about. But I'm happy to talk a bit more about it after Cordelia has had her share.
That sounds good. Everyone happy with that? Cordelia?
yeah, that sounds really intriguing. I'd be interested in supporting you in that. And congratulations on starting your podcast. So yeah. Let's see. So actually, my ask is about getting on more stages. So I want to clean up my introduction there a little bit. I said I'm an executive transformation coach. And so I actually this year have chosen to start working with executives. And so as far as, to let you know, that wasn't my goal originally to work in the corporate space, but it now is my focus beginning this year. So with that, as even though I've been speaking for a long time and I've had my podcast for like 6 or 7 years, now I'm changing my audience to be in the corporate space. And so I'm looking for speaking engagements and opportunities where I can be on stages where those people are in the audience. Is that a clear ask?
Are you just virtual or in person, Cordelia, or both?
Both, yeah. So like if podcasts where I could be a guest, or if of like different organizations that have executives who are struggling with burnout, or that's kind of what happens to most of their
Gordon, you're registered on a few speaker agency websites from memory. Have you found much value in getting involved with them?
It's one of those things. I'm going to say no is my original answer to that. But the reason it's a no is because my price point wasn't high enough for it to make sense. And I haven't spoken, like I've done a couple of speeches in the last 3 years. But my old pricing was about $7,500 to $10,000, which if an agency is taking 25%, like they're really not going to roll out of bed for $2,500. They more look at, say, like a gym who's getting 20,000. They're like, okay, it makes sense to make 5,000, or a big name like a Jesse where they're going to make 10 grand. So, it really depends. I think the piece from speaking that I'm going to say I messed up kind of like my first speaking career is we never really figured out the back end, and speaking only makes sense if you have a really good back end. Because nobody on this call other than like Jim is a celebrity. And so it's not going to make sense from a speech fee. Like anyone on this call, if you get $10,000, like you're going to take it, right? But by the time you factor in travel there, you do the event, that's a whole day, you travel back, it's 3 days, you're really making $3,300 a day. There's a lot more things that we could do where we're going to make more money than $3,300 a day, right? And to get a speech and like all the prep and all that, like, it just doesn't make sense. But I know if I'm going to potentially do $100,000 of business on the back end, I'll speak for free. Right? Like, so when I'm looking at my business from, let's just look at a sheer agency where we help masterminds grow and scale. I'm not going to take on a client that I'm not going to make at least $1 million of revenue from. Like, we're the top agency in the game. Like, that's like, I'm looking to do strategic partnerships. Like, a guy's texting me right now, and we're going to do the first event where we're going to make $250,000 by selling 25 companies at $10,000. And then we're going to upsell them into a $30,000 a year mastermind, right? Like, so that is a potential collaboration where I know we can make $1 million over the next year versus, you know, somebody comes to me, oh, we have $1,000 mastermind, we want to get 10 members. I'm like, great, I'll help you with the strategy, but like, it's not going to make sense on the back end. So from speaking is really figure out what the back end looks like, and books don't count. But like, I'm going to get a consulting client where I'm going to make $100,000. Okay. And this goes back to my work with Mason, where it's like, who is your buyer? Where are those people hanging out? Like, I'm running an event in Austin, December 2nd, 3rd, 4th, where we're going to sell sponsors for $25,000 because we have 100 multimillionaires in a room.
So I'm trying to understand, like, so just to clarify, the one client that I'm working with now is like a VP for a large healthcare company. And so that contract's 100,000. I do a mastermind retreat, which is about
Which I just want to
$2,000 a
stop you for a
person.
second.
Okay.
That is awesome. Congratulations.
Okay. So I'm getting lost with what you're saying, because like on the back end, I am offering to coach executives, and I offer a pretty solid week-long retreat and stuff like that. So I'm not saying I wouldn't speak for free, but I just need to know, like, who has maybe a better question is who knows, a connection for like United Health or Aetna or Blue Cross Blue Shield, Anthem, like where I could speak to, that executive team.
But and this goes back to like what I was working on, Mason. So you have this client, right? It's a 6-figure client. I would tell you to, like, that's your avatar, right? Like, they have the budget, they like have the desire. Go get a video testimonial of this person and go find 100 people like her in the same job, or find out on LinkedIn who had her job the last 3 people.
Okay.
Don't worry about speaking on stage, but like, reach out to those people and say, hey, I'm in Nashville, can I buy you a cup of coffee?
Okay.
Or, hey, like, I know you're struggling with this. Can I, like, one of the strategies that we use, and we haven't deployed it in a long time, but like, when we want to get a hold of somebody, we send them a piece of certified mail.
Okay.
Right? It costs $25, but I know this person is going to open it. They think it's a lawsuit, number one. So when there's a nice like card or letter from you saying, hey, I'm Gordon, like, this is what we do, I would love to take you for lunch, or I'm going to be in New York next week and I'm hanging out with VCs. Do you want to come to this dinner or this or that? Don't like, and I know we have a lot of speakers on this. Speakers have the biggest egos on the planet. And like, it's total, like, and this is where I really, I don't know, I don't want to throw like Jim under the bus, but like, we're working on doing a mastermind with Les, is everyone wants to become a speaker, and you can charge ridiculous amounts of money to pay for people to like go through speaker training. Yet very few people are going to ever make more than $10,000 a speech or $100,000 a year. Why? Because they're not willing to put in the outreach, the non-sexy piece that you have to reach out to 1,000 people to book one speech. They just want to be on stage. You're like, oh yeah, like I have never
That,
done a
what you
speech.
just said, that is the part that I didn't know to do. So see, I wouldn't have done that because I didn't know to do that. So thank you.
Yeah, so the speaking business is not sexy. It's not fun. It's a lot of hotel rooms. It's a lot of time away from your 6 kids. Like no event is going to call you out of the blue and say, hey, we want to pay you $50,000 to speak, unless you're Les Brown. And Les Brown needs to still have a whole team doing outreach.
And Cordelia, the people, maybe you could re-ask this question. We've got Dan Clark, who's just joined, who I don't know whether he'll be here today, but hopefully the next one, like Jim Cathcart, Les, and Waldo, who are all Hall of Fame speakers. These are the people that this question would be better suited to. Gordy's giving some great insight there as well.
But also on that, they're all coming to me to set up masterminds because they're over the grind and they're like busting their ass to make 700 grand a year doing 50 gigs.
Yeah, I'm not aiming to do that. Okay.
But you have this one client paying you 100 grand. So how do you go find 10 clients and now you have $1 million business?
Yeah, that's more what I'm going for. So thank you. And actually that's one of the things I was thinking about, because like next month I'm going to Houston, and the month after that I'm going to Scottsdale, and I'll be speaking at different conferences. So I was just thinking, who can I reach out to and have dinner with while I'm there? So now this is where your 100 DMs a day and that client avatar comes up, and I can say, look, I'm going to be in your town.
When you're in Scottsdale, I'll connect you with my friend David Berg, who runs the best healthcare company in the world.
Okay.
In North America. They're, they've figured out, they have 5 clinics in the Valley. They've figured out, like, his competitors are your clients. Just because like there's so much waste in healthcare. But yeah, send me a note and I'll connect you to him.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a question, Cordelia. Are you looking for, like, Fortune 500 companies? Like, have you, or just, is there a size of a CEO or a VP executive level that you're looking for?
Yeah, I would say Fortune 500. This particular person, she's a VP over like 500,000 people. So an organization, and that's just in one region, and there's 4 regions. So
Right.
that kind of organization.
Okay.
Thanks.
Cordelia, I'd be more than happy to have you on my podcast. And I went to add you on LinkedIn, but we were already connected.
Yeah, I noticed that. I think maybe because I visited in June, so I think we might have connected then.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm sending you a connection right now, Angela.
Me? Oh, what's that for, Mason?
On LinkedIn.
Oh, with you. Oh, sorry. I see what you mean. Thank you.
I have a couple guys I'll connect you with too, Cordelia. I just got to look up their contact information.
Isn't that the best, Evans? You're like, I know this person. I can see what they look like, but I have no idea their name because I
know, right?
5,000 people.
They both actually have podcasts too, and they're both in the health industry. Now they're actually working more, which this is probably could be more of a benefit because they're more, they're in the supplier side, right? So they have contacts with multiple companies. Yeah, so I'll have to go. I just remember Hank. That's all I know. The guy's name, Hank. I got connected to him because he has connections with one of the owners of Libsyn. So he's connecting me with the owners of Libsyn about pushing a possible business opportunity for them. But then I discovered he was like I discovered this whole new world I didn't know existed, a whole podcast around, like he's got a sterilization company, right? It's that niche of a podcast is pretty pretty cool. But these guys, he connected me with somebody else who has a mastermind, Gordon. So I should probably connect you with him. But he's got a mastermind and it's full of healthcare executives.
Oh, I know him. Shit, that's he's in Scottsdale.
Now this guy's from Nashville. Everybody I'm
Boy just
meeting
moved to
recently is from
Nashville.
Nashville.
God, he's bald.
Mm-mm. I can't remember his name, but he's from Nashville. I'll look it up while we're on here.
Michael. I'll think of it in a second.
But that would be he would definitely be a good connection, Cordelia.
Okay, thank you.
Cordelia, how long before you need to go?
Like 10 minutes.
Because Dan Clark's about to jump on any minute. He's the lead contributing author to the Chicken Soup for the Soul book series, voted top 10 best motivational speakers in the history of the world. And he just interviewed me on his podcast. And the guest before me was Donny Osmond.
Wow.
Quite different backgrounds Donny and I have got, as it turns out.
Yeah.
I don't
So
know. You guys
hopefully-
are both fun.
I got a lot of respect for Donny. I watched the interview and he was his management wanted him to have a drug scandal so he could get cool in the eyes of his fans. He never sold out and he's ended up crushing it. But I think he would be a great one to ask that question. So if he comes on before you leave, and if not, he'll be attending further events. He lives here in Utah, so which is cool. The other thing I'd say, Cordelia, as well, is the cold outreach will help. But in terms of the speaking opportunities, like this event that we were going to put on in Panama City Beach, the model that seems to be most popular is people will put on an event and speakers pay to play. They pay to get on some stages, but they will only do that if they've got a really solid back end, like Gordon was talking about. And a lot of the stuff that Evans is doing around the monetization of podcasting transitions well into being able to sell from stage, or at least getting them into a virtual mastermind where you can, have a high ticket offer, which could be massive.
I'm curious, what is this solid back end? So, I mean, just to be clear on what that is.
So like you're coaching, right? Like a
Mhm.
6-figure coaching.
Okay.
But if you speak to a room of 100 people that are potential targets, and this is where like you would work with somebody like Les or my friend Joey Coleman, who Laban knows, to really create a presentation that you're talking about client success, and like you're not selling, but you're selling because everyone in the audience is really intelligent and they go, oh my God, that's me. I need to work with you. I need more joy. I need more laughter. I need more happiness. And then you give them an offer at the end, not like an offer, like, hey, shoot me a text at this number. And then you have the conversation, follow up with them.
Okay.
But
Would-
yeah, like another example is retreat, right? Like, you're going
Right.
to get 10 people in your retreat that you charge $5,000 and you're going to make $50,000 in revenue there.
Right.
Cordelia, on your website, I haven't had a good look recently, but like, does it mention anywhere that you're a speaker? And does it have any footage or stills of you speaking on stage? Any borrowed ethos or credibility around speaking?
I just redid my website, but I did not include that because I don't have an updated speaker reel. And yeah, so it doesn't have that, but it does have very prominently about my podcast and my retreats and my coaching. Yeah.
So the question's going to be, what kind of person do I need to be contacted for speaking engagements? What do I have written down? At least you're conscious of it now. Like, it'll just be a flow and effect, and then follow the mantra of being so good they can't ignore. When you like, how much speaker training have you done?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, like 4 years ago, I was in a 9-month mastermind, and I've spoken on several international stages for, I mean, not thousands of people, but hundreds of people. And I Yeah, so I guess a couple of years, I'm like a certified speaker. I've done Toastmasters, and I've done like 100 summits, so a little.
So if you, which is great, by the way, and a lot more than most, that if you talk to people like Waldo and Les and Jim and Dan and these other guys, like if you talk to Jim, I think he did 500 speeches before he even got paid for his first one. Now the models, that's the old school model, but I've just sent a link for a guy, Vin Jang, who does a virtual speaker training. It's about using your voice as an instrument. I think I might have spoken to you about him in the past. For anyone that's looking to improve their speaking ability, it's another feather in the cap of improving your overall repertoire. He's a magician by trade originally, he's a Vietnamese first immigrant in Australia from Vietnam, who became a brilliant magician, but he was useless on stage because he had no stage presence. Technically, he was brilliant at magic. And then he learned about using his voice as an instrument. His speaker training course, which is like a 10-hour commitment or a 7-hour commitment, and it's about $1,000 course US, is the best money I've ever spent. It's different to what you would have learned, Ange, with Les. It's different to what Evans you would have done with Malinchak, and it's more about the basics and becoming consciously incompetent so you can improve. And just little things like that will just make you even more valuable in that speaker market.
Thank you.
You got to go.
I gotta go. All right, it's been lovely being here with all of you, and I'll see you again next time.
Bye,
Thanks.
Cordelia.
Bye.
Okay, and then there was 6. Angela, let's just spend some time. Can we just quick round of applause for Angela's now a multiple best-selling author, 6 times bestseller in the space of just a few months. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, the last one was with Les Brown, so that was really cool.
That's so good. That's so
Thank you.
good. So where were we?
Well, so I have held 2, so my podcast will be pre-recorded. So I've held 2 interviews so far, and I have several people booked in October, when I'll be starting the more recordings all over again. Sorry, just a sec. Thank you. And then
Can we talk about how you just keep having stuff delivered? I'm like so impressed.
Drinks.
I'm not at home at the moment, so I'm not in my office. So please forgive the bed.
Please forgive me. I want to learn how to have like people, like I had somebody deliver me something, but it was only because he thought I was going to die of dehydration.
I got 2 words for you, but I'm not going to say them. So where was I? Distracted me. Okay, so that's about to launch in October. I'm redoing all of my website and social media and everything because I've never been that great at it. It's not my forte. I had it done years ago and it needs updating. It just needs
$10 negative self-talk alert. Yeah.
Well, it's not really, I wouldn't call that negative self-talk. That's not my forte.
Want to throw it to the floor? Who thinks that's negative self-talk? Quick show of hands. Ah!
I'm only giving you 10.
Venmo doesn't work. You don't have a Venmo account yet, do you?
Sorry, mate. When I'm there next month, when I'm there in November, I'll give you cash.
All right. Well, this is going to a charity, so just do it in our honor. Keep going.
So that's about to launch. Okay, sorry. So I'm redoing all of having the website and everything redone. And I'm just about to launch a 12-week course called Radically Reclaim Your Life. So it's about empowering women. Sorry?
I was giving you a fish shake, like a congratulatory fish shake.
Thank you. So it's empowering women over 40 to fall fiercely in love with themselves, unleashing their potent power and their voice, and reconnecting with their inner queen. So I'm very excited about it.
No, I was just going to say, now you're connected to some pretty high profile people, certainly in Australia, and are you tapping into some of those resources to help leverage that?
I certainly will be. Yes,
Okay, good. Good.
I certainly will be. But I really took a lot of value out of what Gordon was saying, and I actually downloaded the Kindle. Sorry, I forget what your book's called, but anyway, I downloaded it. The Connection Effect. Yeah, so I'll be reading that. And I just want to do what he said, reaching out to 100 people every day. I can do that. I'm not completely sure on what to say to them. Like, do I invite them on
Yeah,
my
but like
podcast?
that's just it will come. Like, and the reason why I've done it, so I'm gonna outsource that part really quickly, but I've been doing it for the first 100 days just to like test the messaging and what's like a lot of the times I just say, like, so Mason, for an example, would be like, I love your content and your vibe,
Okay.
right? Like, or like, so from an influencer standpoint, like we all know how the algorithms work. And like when people comment and you respond, like it shows to more people. So like sometimes I just like something or comment something or like send them a DM, like, hey, really appreciate where you're going, or they're in Ibiza. And I'll be like, hey, would you like me to introduce you to some of my friends in Ibiza? Hey, you're in Nashville. I have some friends in Nashville. Check out these people. If you want an intro, let me know.
Yeah, Angela, just to piggyback off that too, something that I've done a lot is once you have that, you obviously have your target audience now, go to where they hang out and comment on their stuff, provide value, even like people you don't know, just search a hashtag on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and find that person and just say, oh yeah, have you tried this? Or here's a good resource for you. And like simply just provide value. A lot of times that'll funnel back to you. I feel like that's helped my podcast a lot and my Instagram, my socials grow just by simply doing that.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank
And
you.
like, you know, like I had a friend who's a musician. So like I'll share on my story, like, hey, go to her event coming up, or, you know, Laban has like, or Evans has a podcast with Laban, right? Be like, oh, this is a really good listen. And I try, like, so my team runs my socials, but I want to get in a better cycle with them. Like once a day is promoting somebody, right? Like today might be like, hey, go check out Mason's interview with like this football player, right? And tag both of them, or go check, like, so for me, right? Like I heard you're doing work with like sex workers, right? So I'm like, oh my God, my friend is like one of the leading expert. Let me connect you and her. I'm not trying to monetize that relationship. I'm not trying to monetize or sell you anything. Great. You went and got my book. Super grateful for that. But also like, I know it's going to come around and, you know, like just goes around, comes around.
Facebook
Yeah,
groups, when I think about that too, 40 plus year old women, Facebook groups, I bet you that those are gold mines for that, for your courses.
Like stay-at-home mom groups and
yeah.
Just while we're on the subject, speaking of pro footballers, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the foray, Mr. Dan Clark.
Where are you, Laban? Speak English. I can't understand you.
Dan, we've got an eager audience here that was excited to hear you were jumping on today, and welcome to your first ever World's Best Mastermind call. We're just solving the world's problems one square at a time these days. For those that don't know, you care to share a little about yourself?
No. I just finished recording my third podcast interview. My voice sounds like 1-900 number, and I'm waiting. You've been in the lobby here, Laban, when I interviewed you, so you know I'm perusing the windows, trying to wait for my ride to pick me up so we can meet you later on tonight. But gents and ladies, I'm just so honored. I'm a sponge, continuous learner, and Laban, he validates something that Dr. Rump taught all of us. We become the average of the 5 people we associate with the most. So you don't need to know a whole lot about me. Just know I honor all of you. I can't wait to learn from you and figure out how I can serve you. In my world as a professional speaker and author, I know that every event planner only needs the answers to 2 questions. What one problem can I help you solve, and how may I serve you? So when I jump on any call or invited to any group like you are forming, that's my mindset. And you can always just check me out on my website, danclark.com, snoop around, see how I may serve you, how I may add value to this conversation, and how I can officially join Laban. So I block this off on my calendar and I don't look like a homeless guy waiting out on the street.
Here's how you join. You write Laban a big check, and then he cashes it, and we welcome you in with open arms.
Hey,
And
that's perfect.
usually your first meeting, you have to do shirtless, but if you write a big enough check, you can skip that.
This is my kind of group, man. I'll tell you what, if we ever meet live on a beach resort and the beach is completely packed with people, trust me, I'll go inside, put on my Speedo, and I'll come out and we'll have an exclusive resort all to ourselves. So I'll throw that out right for the shoes, bro. Introduce each of you by name so I can put a face to the name that Laban's been bragging on.
You start, Gordon.
Gordon Buffton traveled the world the last 3 years, and we help masterminds grow and scale, as well as we run an art business for our clients.
Wow, where do you live?
I've traveled the world the last 3 years, but we're about to buy property in Portugal.
Oh yeah, that's a good place to land. Good for you, man.
Yeah, I love Portugal.
I live in Portugal. That's cool.
Daniel?
This
Hi,
No,
Dan.
Daniel Hanna, rather. We've got not 2 Dans.
Hi, Dan. I'm the world's best psycho-spiritual mentor, and I help people who have a longing within their heart to return home to themselves.
Holy cow. I mean, you're like a lyrical poet. Repeat that again.
I'm the world's best psycho-spiritual mentor, and I help people who have a longing in their heart to return home to themselves.
Holy cow, this call is going to make me millions. I'm going to put your picture on the cover of every one of my books. I use that quote, and they should it'll kickstart the international sales. They'll start selling like hotcakes. Thank you.
And I live in Arizona. I live in Sedona, Arizona. So, yeah.
So I lived in Gilbert part of the year in the horse property. So I know Sedona. I can't afford to pay attention there. So you're making a lot of money being the spiritual guru, but good for you.
Yeah. It's nice to meet you, Dan.
Wow, what an honor.
And
Daniel, you only popped on for 1 second.
What do you mean?
The other gent that popped on for 1 second. I'm going to get in my car now so it's quiet and I can hear you all. Sorry for the brain damage and moving all around.
Don't worry, I already had a seizure today.
They're so funny. So who else is on the call?
You want me to go?
We have
Yep.
Jesus himself, but he just left when you got on.
I'll go ahead and introduce myself. So my name is Mason Bendigo. I'm first mastermind today. I host Breathe in Air podcast, where everyday action meets extraordinary mindset. And I help high value men optimize their mind and their bodies to attract new people and opportunities. I'm ex-collegiate athlete. I'm looking at your website right now. I see you played a little football yourself. And yeah, I'm just excited to be here. Similar to what you said, trying to be a sponge and gain as much value as possible from this group.
Wow, where do you live?
I live in Nashville, Tennessee.
Right in Nashville. I know it well. I used to have a publishing deal there with Sony BMG. Where are you in Nashville?
I'm in West Nashville, about 10 minutes outside of the city, close to Belmead, in between Belmead and the Nations.
Oh, wow. Beautiful, beautiful.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Dan, Mason's a former captain of the football team for college.
Which college?
Lindenwood University, right outside of St. Louis, Missouri.
in East St. Louis. So you're a bad mofo.
Not East St. Louis. That's he's alluding to the murder capital of the world there. But yeah, on the nice side of the tracks, on the nice side.
Just checking, man. We both know that you'd have to show me your tattoos.
Yeah.
Okay. Who else
Yeah.
is on the call?
Ange?
Yeah, I'm here. Hi, Dan. My name is Angela Bennett, and I empower women over 40 to fall fiercely in love with themselves, unleashing their potent power and their voice and reconnecting with their inner queen. And I'm a speaker and author, and I'm just about to launch my podcast as well, which is called Powerless to Powerful.
I love it. What's your beautiful accent?
Australian. I'm in Sydney.
Oh, wow. It's one of our favorite cities. 3.5 weeks there last couple of years ago, pre-COVID.
Oh, pre-COVID. Yeah, beautiful.
Oh,
I'll be in America. Sorry?
amazing. So nice to meet you.
Thank you. You too. I will be in the States in November and December.
Wow, we'll have to organize, Laban.
Yeah, well, I've got an update on that. Turns out your boy Laban Ditchburn, world's best courage coach, has figured out a way to stay in the United States. So I'll be here.
Nice.
Awesome.
Wow. Congratulations.
Now that is so cool. I knew that once you understood the witness protection program we offer here, that you figured out.
Well, it's more than likely going to be Utah as well, Dan. So
Big things to come.
big things to come. So we've also got Evans Putman. Evans, you better tell the man about yourself.
Hey, Dan, it's nice to meet you. So I'm the guy in the room that helps all these podcasters make millions and millions of dollars. So that's my specialty, is helping people grow and monetize podcasts.
Laban, he told me a lot about you. I really would like to have a personal conversation with you. And, you know, I applaud you for the marijuana plant over your left shoulder. That's pretty cool.
Right. Well, there's more of them. You just can't see them. They're off camera. We're not what I live in. Well, I guess Utah is probably the same, but I'm in Charleston, South Carolina. So, you know, we haven't made it to that legalization side of things yet.
Oh, such a beautiful place. I've been the commencement speaker at the Citadel before. I love your city. Oh my
Yeah.
God. No
Well,
place.
come back and visit. Come back and visit. We'll go out and have a nice dinner or something.
Well, if we could, if you all could write down my cell phone number so we could keep in touch on an intimate basis, and especially just because of what's going on in my life right now, Evan, I'd love to talk to you. But my cell phone number is
Absolutely.
801-842-3484. And my email is dan@danclark.com. dan@danclark.com. DANCLARK. And again, like I said at the beginning, figure out how I can serve you right out of the chutes. I want to deposit in this mastermind before I start withdrawing anything.
Wait, can you say your phone number again? Because I was writing it and Laban was, and one of us got it wrong.
80. That's funny.
Yeah, I got it wrong.
That's funny. 801-842-3484.
Yeah, Gordon put his social security number down, I think.
You're so bad.
He was sort of close. Sort of close.
So Dan, while we've got you here, and Angela was sort of 3/4 of the way through her ask. Ange, did you want to re-ask that while we got Dan here?
Oh, I'm already off mute. Yeah, I'm launching my podcast, and I want clients for my 12-week course that I'm about to launch to radically reclaim your life. And Dan, I would love to have you as a guest on my podcast if you would be interested in that, if it's
Absolutely.
suitable.
Absolutely. Yes. And then we can share our list of guests that we've all had on different programs and different podcasts. It's I found, as we all know, referrals the best way. It vets everybody who, cut through the clutter of the wannabes and the folks who spend billions of dollars on their websites that make them look like they're experts.
Mm.
And we can help you get the real guests who know what's really going on and come up with some solutions. Yeah, my pleasure. If I had an accent, my speaker's fee would triple.
Dan, I'll second that too. Would love to have you on.
Yes, please. Yeah. And you could just email me. I always record my podcasts on Mondays. I just shifted from Wednesdays. I had Laban on, and I record from a television station. I'm tied in with Sinclair Broadcast Group. They own 193 stations in 100 markets. And so as I prove my worth here in the Intermountain West, they're going to help me syndicate. I'll be a great bird dog for all of us. But I've record on Mondays. So whatever day you record, whatever the time zone changes, I'll accommodate both of you, anybody else. It's an honor. I know Laban has attracted some extraordinary people. Thank you.
Well, you're included in that, Dan. You're included in that. And I think the majority of the cohorts in this mastermind group actually run masterminds, podcasts rather. So we've got a much smaller cohort. There's a few people traveling at the moment, and that'll be back here next month. And between us, I think, Mason's got a podcast, which is in the top 5% of downloads. Mine's in the top 10%. Evans, yours would be pretty well as well, would have thought. Zach is in the top 2% or 1% of downloads, I think. So there's some great opportunities to leverage each other's guests. And I've got to thank Waldo Waldman for the introduction to Dan Clark as well, by the way.
What's a podcast?
My podcast is called Power Players with Dan Clark, and don't let my 11 international followers discourage you. I said, I'm in the build stage right now with so much support from Sinclair Broadcast Group. I just got to figure out a way to scale it. And
here, I think your secret is to rip out your vocal cords and then feed them to somebody while charging people to watch it. And then get Laban on your show and you'll just be a rock star.
There you go. I knew this would earn me money.
I could just
swap out Laban's accent for yours, right? There you go.
My state, like, I'm probably the only one on here that doesn't have a podcast. And Evans, I'm sorry. Do a high-end mastermind. You're gonna make way more money. It's gonna be way faster, and you're gonna have way more fun. But just DM 100 people a day.
So let's make that intimate call as well. You have my number. And
I don't know. I wrote down the wrong number, so I'll text it right now.
I'm grounded for this weekend. I don't hit the road until Monday again. So if anybody on the call wants to just talk offline, I'm all ears. I need you to coach me. I need you to lift me up, teach me.
We could dub my voice over yours with all your audiobooks, Dan. You can triple the sales.
Yeah, thanks for making me feel so much better about myself.
That's why you showed up. Hey, does that count as
1-900 number?
Will that be $10? We're gonna let him slide this time.
I don't think Dan's had an opportunity to read the email, but I'll hold him accountable tonight when we have dinner or after dinner. So Dan, while we got you here, what do you need help with?
That I'm just, I've been a spoiled brat. I've been a professional speaker since 1982 when Zig Ziglar took me under his wing, sponsored me in the National Speaker Association. Was the guy in the Reagan White House who took Mrs. Reagan's Just Say No program to all 50 states. So I was speaking at 3 schools every day, 15 a week, 140 school days a year between 83 and 89, and transitioned into the corporate arena. And I have religiously spoken over 250 times every single year. And so I'm called to be a speaker. I'm a stage speaker. and I've written 37 books, primary contributor and author to Chicken Soup for the Soul. I am a speaker.
We're just losing you, Dan. You might have gone through a mountainous range in Utah somewhere.
Did he say he's an author in the Chicken Soup? I know
He's
you
the-
mentioned this.
The lead contributing author to the Chicken Soup for the Soul book series.
Wow. That was one of the most humbling thing I've ever said. Not I've ever said, that I've ever heard. What he just said
What?
about, spending time with him over the phone, and he needs to learn, and he needs whatever it was that he said. I was just like, oh, wow.
Yeah. We lost you, Dan.
Are you there?
We lost the last 30 seconds.
Okay, I just said,
You got the Chicken Soup for the Soul.
yeah, primary contributing author to Chicken Soup for the Soul. And I never paid attention to social media, so I'm so far behind. And I've only started to record in the last year or so, posting videos on Instagram, Facebook. I've got a lot of drama content creator, so much material, so many stories. I've only recently launched my podcast about maybe February, and I release one a week. I'm just trying to figure out the formula and follow the coaches. So my ask, and I'm sorry for all that belabored message, but my answer to your question, Laban, is I need to figure out a way to rekindle my OG status that I had back in the day, inducted in the National Speakers Association Hall of Fame way back in 2005. And I need to be in the same conversation as the Les Browns, who's my colleague, who I shared the program with so many times, and the Bob Proctors and the Les Browns, the Jim Rohns. So I'm just one of the OGs that kind of paved the way for all the current gurus, the Tony Robbins, the Brendan Burchards. I kind of created the environment back in the day. I'm 65, so I'm not going to ever retire. I'm refired. And I just need your help in coaching on how to establish my celebrity, my guru status on social media across all platforms, and help me scale my podcast and help me generate more followers on Instagram at, all the language, which I'm so far behind, but I know I have all the credibility. I know I have all the content that I can create. If someone can just coach me and tell me what I need to do next steps, and who I need to talk to. And it sounds like there's a few of you on this.
I'm curious, like your reasoning behind the why for that. Like,
just because in the world now, your credibility seems to be, oh, he or she has X number of followers. He or she has X number of downloads on their podcast. Instead of the credibility that I've spoken to over 6 million people in most of the Fortune 500 companies and most of the teams in the NFL, the credibility in our current mindset seems to be all focused on social media presence instead of belly to belly events that I've done for so many years.
so I'm a millennial, and I'm going to dispute you on that comment. I'm more impressed that you've spoken to every NFL team. And when I go on your website and I see McDonald's and all these things and whatever, the thing with influencer aspect is they might have 1 million followers because they put basically naked photos of themselves on there, but the followers don't equal money. And I would rather you have 1,000 followers that are like the Hall of Fame speakers that actually engage in your content than 1 million followers, because most people with the 1 million followers are hitting me up like, hey, I'm super broke. Like, I might look like I fly private, but I don't. So
yeah. Well, if any of you can help me with that, I'm willing to put Nate Laban Ditchburn on my social media if that's going to help.
It'll help.
But I like
more Speedo shots on your I can connect you with my social gal who's very affordable and really good. She's not like, obviously Evans is a podcast guru, but we can help with like, I'll send you mine. She's been running it most of the year, but like she traveled with me for time to film content, and then we've automated it for the last 2 months.
And to put to put a mastermind together that's so unique, where we follow the usual mastermind template, the usual mastermind agenda, which we're all familiar with. I've spoken to so many masterminds, but to take, we also bring in the astronauts and the Grammy Award winning songwriters and the superstars who can share their wisdom and add a little bit of a celebrity sizzle that expands our influence. One of the things that floats my boat the most is when I can come into a city and do something for someone that they can't do for themselves. You know, the backstage meet and greet passes at a concert, or the interview dinner with somebody who's huge, who can change our world just because they were Holocaust survivors or whatever the case may be. And so, if I can ever bring that menu opportunity to one of your masterminds, and we could joint venture on the masterminds and really figure out a way to take it to the highest level possible, where we invite individuals like us and attract individuals like us, but then add the sizzle to the steak and really take it over the edge, where the next one is so exciting to hear about and to sign up for, and we start having a waiting list or whatever the case may be. You all know more about that than I do. I just want to make sure you know I'm a resource.
Yeah, and I have to second what Gordon said too, and I know Ange put it in the chat too, is that, it's not about the numbers. So I would focus more on the right people, the ones that are going to engage with you, the ones that are going to appreciate, and the ones that are looking for the value that you provide, because that's going to be so much more important.
Yes, sir. And can you help me with that?
I can definitely help in the podcast realm. I'm going to reach out to you for sure.
Yes, sir.
We've got lots of podcasters that have, like what Gordon said, small audiences, but true fans. And they're the ones that are actually doing better than the ones that have these massive audiences. And they're more concerned about getting a commercial, a sponsorship. And what I'm more concerned about is my clients sponsoring themselves.
Yeah.
Right. And connecting with their true client, their true fans, and the people who are going to be their biggest evangelists, and the ones that are going to come back and spend again and again and again with them. So,
yeah. And currently I have no sponsors. I have no paid ads. Sinclair believes in me, and I am just trying to get the most amazing.
Yeah, but the thing with them is you have distribution. Yes. Like, you're instantly going to have 1 million people that are going to hear your voice in your interviews, which a guy like Mason or Laban might never get. Like Joe Rogan, like the guys who are crushing it in the podcast space. And I do watch their stuff because I believe they have the best pulse on young culture, are the Nelk boys and Logan Paul's show with Impulsive. And these guys are doing interviews with Donald Trump and Elon Musk and Mark Cuban and these huge names, because they get 7 million views within 24 hours. YouTube banned and pulled off the Donald Trump interview that the Nelk boys did. Why are they able to land these clients? Because their managers have managed Justin Bieber a decade ago, sort of thing, right? And all these, from an interview perspective, right? If you're able to go to somebody, hey, I'm going to get you in front of 1 million people when you have a book come out, or the Tim Ferriss. I mean, it's interesting, the 4-hour work week, and the guy is a total workaholic, but he created a whole new platform for people, right? You used to have to be Oprah with, you used to want to get on Oprah's show, and you would there's so many stories of people buying 100,000 books to get on Oprah and then never selling a copy, right? These people, Dan, because from the Chicken Soup, right? Who cares about being on these shows? Those guys sold 500 million books. I don't know, what are they probably at? 750 million copies of Chicken Soup for the Soul?
500. Oh, yeah. If I could get quality guests like you're talking about, that generates what we're talking about. That generates the numbers of people who actually care, right?
Yeah.
Dan,
And so I'm
Dan,
happy to,
what
like
I-
I sent you a text.
Gordon,
Happy to,
Gordon,
like, and I think
Gordon,
the piece is
what
really
I think
thinking.
what I think Dan needs from what the discussions we've had is he needs some expertise around the basic principles of making sure that the podcast gets listened to, which is what Evans and Michelle's team on that side. There's nothing in place, and he has to get those numbers up in order for this opportunity to then get scaled. So he needs basic fundamental podcast knowledge, if I'm not mistaken, Dan.
Yep, exactly. What Sinclair told me, they have the number one station, you know, in Utah where I live, the number one station in Vegas and Seattle, and the list goes on and on. They want me to prove that I can generate downloads and views on my podcast here in Utah. And then they're going to open the floodgates and help me. And so that's why I need, to your point, Laban, yeah, I need to know the fundamentals, next steps, and what I need to do in the next 2 or 3 months to scale it, to escalate it, to exponentially grow it.
But like, I guess my question would be like, why? Like, what is the end transformation you're trying to make in people? Or what is, you know, like I asked our collaborators, like, how much money are you trying to make? Or like, I mean, it's just like, is that going to get you speeches? Is that what you want? Or you want to fill a mastermind? Or you just want to like, make sure your legacy goes on and you have enough money that you never have to work again. Like, and I think that's the piece that it's easy to say, oh, I want 1 million followers.
Yeah, no, all of the above. I want to be able to create value. I've never been motivated by money. It's just a report card. So yes, I want to make as much money as I can. I'm very philanthropic. Obviously, we can gather together as a mastermind and figure out what we can do to serve humanity. However, I was asked to speak, so that's why I'm called to be a speaker. And I know that there's at least one man and one woman in every one of my audiences who is hurting as badly as I was. Suicidal, broken heart, shattered dreams, blah, blah, blah. And I want to expose my connections, my influence with the world. That sounds so cheesy, but it's my reality where I would speak for free. That's why I have to have a whole office and a team to make sure it's a business. But yes, I'm not shying away from making as much money as I can through podcasts, through masterminds. But that's only after we've provided so much value that the people willingly say, because I added this much value to the marketplace. You know, if I'm only paid $5 an hour by McDonald's for taking out the trash, it's because I only have $5 of value to the marketplace. But if Coca-Cola pays their CEO $80 million for an annual salary, it's because his value to the marketplace was 80 million because he generated 1 billion in revenue for the company. So yeah, I want to make a lot of money, but it's all predicated on the measurement.
So if I were in your shoes, Dan, would you like to know how I would be thinking about this at the moment?
I'm sorry?
Do you want to know how, if I were in your shoes, how I would be thinking about this?
Yeah,
Okay,
please.
so in the next month, how many stages are you going to speak on?
I don't know, maybe 10.
Okay. How many
maybe
people?
8.
How many people? So let's just use round numbers. Out of those 10 events, how many people are going to be in the audience? You broke up. How many people are going to be in the audience for those 10 events?
Looks like he's having a car accident in slow motion. Come back to us when you can, Dan.
That's not that much.
Okay.
Dan, we lost the last 45
I'm here.
seconds.
I'm back.
Good.
Yeah.
So what I would do if I were you, Dan, is I would reach out to the CEOs of all those companies that you're speaking at, whether it's a CEO of an organization or like the top sponsor, interview them on your podcast in the next like time leading up to it. And then when you're at the event, like, and this can be your prep for your speech, right? When you're at the event, go, hey, I just interviewed the CEO of McDonald's. If you would like to listen to this podcast, text such and such, and we'll send you the link. But the key with that is they will also send it out to all their employees. Like if I'm a McDonald's employee, and well, I'm not a McDonald's employee, but like if I'm the CEO of McDonald's, you interview me and you make it around the company culture, like cool innovation, that CEO is going to send it to all his employees, and that has a potential 100,000 person reach.
Oh yeah, brilliant.
But like if you, so say you're speaking to McDonald's and you go, okay, I'm going to interview the CEO, the COO, and like the chief of marketing, and we're going to do a little series in preparation for my speech. This is how I'm able to like know what the company culture is, ask these questions, but we do it like, don't do an hour interview, do 20 minutes. Like it might be 10 minutes, like do 5, 10, 15, 20, because like, until you have the platform, like nobody's going to listen to a 3-hour interview that you do with McDonald's, because like, we don't necessarily know you, but I'll listen to Tim Ferriss interview Laban for 3 hours.
Absolutely. I get it. Wow.
And then it's a value prop to your client as well. Like, you know, and I don't know what your like stick is, right? But like your stick might be, I don't know, it might be like Mason talking about health, right? So here's how the top 3 executives at these 10 companies are talking about health. Thinking about it.
Yeah. That makes so much sense. I feel so bad bogarting all the time here. I'm so sorry. You're all so generous with your advice. I'm sorry I'm taking all the time.
Dan,
Right, this
there's
makes my whole week.
Dan, there's one thing that I recall from our first mastermind, and I think it was Evans that mentioned it. And, you know, people are always taking notes in your speeches. They always want to write down things and they don't want to miss anything. And something that Evans said was to put up a QR code or whatever you call that, you know, a code that they scan, and then you receive their emails, and then you their contact information, and then you tell them that don't need to write down everything on that you say and everything on the slides, because once they do that, once they send in their information with that QR code, then you will send them the slides from your speech. That way you have their email addresses and all their contact details to build your database. But I was also thinking you could also link your podcast channel with those emails. I don't know, just a thought.
No, that's brilliant. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, I'll just jump in on that, Angela, because I heard one thing. It was somebody else that mentioned the QR code, because I would do more of the text option, because I think it's easier to, like, you can flash on the slides on the screen, like text the word, you know, podcast to this number, and people love doing that just to get the notes. Like everything else Angela said was spot on. So I've seen Brendan Brouchard actually did that. I think it was
Did
Brendan
they do it at the
Brouchard.
beginning of the presentation?
I don't remember when he did it. Brendan Brouchard was doing it more. He actually did it for his wife's podcast that was launching, and he did it at Funnel Hacking Live in front of, you know, like 5,000 people. But what he did, which was brilliant, was it was text the word, you know, whatever, text the word. But when you do, to help support his wife's podcast launch, but also he was going to give you a free ticket to his event, which I'm sure at that event he's selling something really expensive, right? So it was like a brilliant way to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. But he did that, I think, I don't remember if it was in the beginning or, you know, in the near the end of the speech, Gordon, but yeah, it was pretty cool.
So I like doing it and working with our clients at the beginning. And then you like, I love prefacing at the beginning of all my masterminds as well. It's like, we're going to like, it's your responsibility to get value out of this session, and like really putting it on them of, you guys are really smart. Here's how you get value. And then back to you, Dan, is like, we're going to cover a lot here and you're not going to get all of it. So if you text me this And then you obviously have everyone's cell phone numbers as well. But like, we're going to give you the notes and XYZ, like these 3 podcast interviews with, you know, the CEO of McDonald's.
Yeah, that's really smart too. Cause yeah, what Gordon said, I mean, think about it. How many times have you seen it? These speeches, everybody's doing this constantly, trying to take pictures of the slide. So if you can do that in the beginning, they can actually pay attention.
You know, I've sold my soul to Simon & Schuster. My flagship book, The Art of Significance, Achieving the Level Beyond Success, was published by Penguin Random House. And because I was selling so many books at events, I decided to buy back my rights. So now I have every one of my books digitized. I could put up a QR code and allow everybody for a free download of one of my books to capture their information.
But here's the thing, Dan. So one of my Hall of Fame speaker friends goes, 5 years ago, everyone was asking for your book, and now everyone's asking for your podcast.
Oh, okay.
And here's the and I don't know what your back end looks like, but like, I'm not going to send you a book because that makes your life more difficult. How do I make your life easier? Right?
Yeah.
Like to read a book, like my book's really easy. It's 90 minutes, but like, I might send it to somebody so they can have it on their bookshelf, but like, I don't want people to read it. I want you to hire me and pay me like $1 million. Like, I don't want to make an extra friction point in order for us to do business together.
Ah, yeah.
Is that Shep? Shep, you know Shep Hyken, Dan?
Yeah, I do very well.
That's who he's talking about.
Oh yeah, I know Shep. Yeah, his sister lives in Park City, Utah.
Right. But like, Shep has a deal with Amazon to do his like business show.
Wow.
Right. But like, he also, and I won't throw out the number, but he charges people thousands of dollars to be a guest on his podcast and also an article in Forbes.
Oh, wow. Will you do me a favor and call him and tell him Dan Clark is the best speaker you've ever heard?
Yeah, I'll do it right now.
So how did he get that? How did he build that platform where people, is it because of his exposure, or we've gone full circle?
No, so like he I think he's probably been doing it for 6 years, I want to say, on our last call, but like he tried to become a contributor for Forbes, and they're like, no, we like, all you're going to want to do is sell. And then like, he knew the editor or something of Forbes where they talked to the person of like, you need to have Shep. But in 6 years, he hasn't missed a week. Right? Like every single week, his Forbes article comes out.
Wow. Wow.
So it's like back to the consistency piece, right? Like, and he was early in the game before all these contributors. And
how did he land the Amazon deal?
It's one of those things I think you get big enough sponsors, and like, I mean, it's kind of like, how'd you land this thing with all these radio stations?
Yeah.
You guys have been in the business forever. Like when these guys first saw you, they were kids in diapers, and now they like run these companies.
Yep, exactly.
So another close friend, and I'm probably going to see Kristen Arnold. I used to go to like her and Joe's house all the time here in Arizona when I was in NSA as a 25-year-old kid. And like Kathy Dempsey and all those people, like I've known for a decade now, basically. And I remember Joe Sheeran when I met Brian Tracy, and Joe introduced Brian Tracy, because like obviously he was Brian Tracy's mentor, and he came to like a Brian Tracy event, and he goes, Brian, you're doing the same speech for the last 40 years, like doesn't it get boring? He goes, no, because like I get a new generation every like couple of years. There's new people learning about goal setting, right? Like those 20-30 year olds, and then after 10 years, like a new 20 and 30. So like he's done the same speech for forever, right? And this is I think like my question for you, and happy to chat offline, is like, what is the transformation that you want to create in people, and who are the people that move the needle, right? Like if you want to do a mastermind, like how do we get the CEOs of McDonald's in a room and they're all paying you $1 million or $100,000 because they know they're going to be in the room with the CEO of Burger King and Tim Hortons and
Yeah.
Cubbies.
And I'll be the first one to say this. There's only one mastermind that I'm a part of for the content. That's Strategic Coach. And every other mastermind, and I'll say this to Laban and Evan, like I'm for the people, right?
Absolutely.
Like
Relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the relationships. Yeah.
Dan, does that help?
No, you all suck. I'm so sorry. I've carved so much time out of my day. You guys are amazing. Thank you. And you too, Angela. Thank you. This means so much to me. My
all right,
goodness.
I gotta jump, but in the last 2 minutes, Laban, how can we help you?
Yeah.
Well, I want to get to Daniel Harner and then Evans before me. Because I haven't prepared accordingly, is the honest answer. Because I'm used to going at the end.
All right, I gotta jump, boys and lady. I'll
Thanks,
talk to you guys
Gordon.
offline, but super
See you,
grateful.
brother. See you, mate.
Thanks so
See you,
much.
man.
See you.
Thank you.
Daniel Harner.
I think, well, real quick, Laban, I think
Yeah.
the way we can help you is get you another baseball hat.
Who?
Yeah. What the Atlanta Braves? What are you talking?
Red Sox.
I know. What are you doing?
It was the first ever baseball game earlier this year. It was game 1 of the season. I got invited through Tommy Breedlove, who's a good friend of the Mastermind as well. And I like wearing a hat from time to time, nude nut.
I was just thinking you need another one, right? It's the same one all the time. We got to get you like multiple hats.
Well, I wouldn't mind getting some world's best stuff. That could be quite cool. But my priorities have been finding a place to permanently be based. So now that we've solved that, my God, the weight of tyranny has come off my shoulders in a way that you can't even imagine, man.
Creativity kicks back in, brother.
Yeah. I'll tell you all about it tonight in detail, Dan. But Daniel Harner, who always sits so patient, he just absorbs like a giant sponge. This man is the epitome of love, Dan. You meet him and you spend time with him and he just emanates and radiates love. And he does BJJ as well.
Hey, before Daniel speaks, I just wanted to acknowledge Daniel because he sent me a amazing email, which was full of love, and I appreciate that. So thank you for sending that. That was so nice, Daniel. Just thanking us for what we've created, Laban, and it was really unexpected and it made my day. So thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. You both are extremely generous and free to create this for all of us and to have you in this space. It's just, I don't take it for granted. I'm pretty silent here in the back, and because I only want to talk about things I know really well. And the last 2 hours, I feel like you know a lot more about this than I do because I do not have a podcast and I am not a public speaker. So I'll let you have the stage. It's not because I'm stingy. It's just it's not my area of expertise. The way I create clients is by really referral and by renewal mostly. So I do not do marketing a lot. It's all by direct conversations I have with either neighbors or past clients or just people that come randomly into my life. But I'm always listening for where I can be of value and service to everyone here. So I want you to know that because sometimes I do feel like a little guilty on the side here. But yes, I don't have a big ask today because I was fortunate enough to be in the open hour with you all. I think last week. So I'm working on a research project at the moment that is very exciting for me because it is really looking at how human intentionality can affect epigenetic aging in human beings at distance. So this could be done anywhere over the world. And if that model works, then it'll be groundbreaking because we have something that will pretty much lessen the number one factor in what makes people likely to have chronic disease later in life. So now I want to run a pilot project and I need 20 to 40 volunteers so we can get some preliminary data, whether that is something that works or not, because it doesn't work with medication, it doesn't work with supplements, it doesn't work with lifestyle. It works with a subtle energy that is broadcast to the people who are receiving it, and can be used in synergy with all the other modalities. And I'm expecting that would be the case, so that everything is creating a greater coherence, everything's used together. So my ask would be, number one, if you know of anybody who's interested in epigenetic age reversal, like making your cells younger, and is willing to participate over the course of 9 months in a research that I'm developing, then be interested in knowing, and getting to know these people, so I can see if they would be a good fit for the program. There's no real exclusion criteria at the moment, but I'm just collecting information of people that are interested. And I'm also looking possibly at researchers or people who are in the health field that might be interested in collaborating or funding a research like that, because collecting the tests, the epigenetic test clocks, is actually really expensive. So, and the more funding I have, the more rigorous and the more scientific the experiment can be, with control groups, wait lists, and randomization and things like that. So that's what I'm working on, and you're welcome to reach out to me directly through email if you want, or to my cell phone. But yeah, that's something that I'm working on the side at the moment, in addition to my coaching practice.
So Dan, would you just explain a little bit more about your background? Because I know Mason won't know a huge amount about you, neither will Mr. Dan Clark.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it depends which leg.
I'm plugging my phone in. That's why I'm not on the screen right now. I'm plugging it in so it doesn't die, so I can see you from a distance, Stan, and I can hear you. Please continue.
Yeah. So I mean, it depends which leg of my background, because I have like at least 5 different things that are kind of unique about my background. But the background I'm talking about here is that I studied with Dr. William Tiller from Stanford University, and he's no longer alive, but the research is still active. And he was really a pioneer in the field of consciousness research and new physics, and particularly how human intention impacts biological and non-biological systems. So pH of water, liver enzyme, fruit fly, growth, depression and anxiety in human beings, increasing self-compassion. So these are all experiments that have been done, and I've been part of those experiments. And this experiment I'm mentioning right now is a continuation of the already pre-existing data we have. So, and it's going to use an even more rigorous epigenetic test that hasn't been used before in this research. And I'm very curious to see if that comes out positive or negative, or whatever the results may be, but it's something that needs to be done. So, and I'm going to do that.
Will it be a remote thing, Dan, or is it?
It's remote. So it can be done in Australia or New Zealand or in the United States or Berlin, Germany. It's not dependent on location at all. Yeah.
Evans,
I had a question real quick, Laban, from when we had our call before. You mentioned something about Dan, if like the participants, you couldn't be going through like a big life change or a big switch. Did I hear that right, or what was that? I'm just trying
to. Also, like let's say you're going to start a new medication that's going to significantly alter your age, then it's a confounding variable. So if you can already foresee that you're going to go through some major health intervention, or I mean, of course you can never say, I'm going to get a divorce in the next 3 months, it might happen, but it's just, you do the best you can to just know that you're not going to go into recovery for 90 days or something like that, so you got to wean yourself off of alcohol, because then you would have a huge intervention that would interfere with what we are doing. So we want to just have the most evenly balanced lifestyle for the people that, so it remains the same, ideally, but doesn't have to be perfect,
like walking the middle path.
Yeah, pretty much. You don't want to have the kind of like expect it to be a laboratory, but it's, should be relatively simple and steady. Yeah.
And what was the
would you want kind of a potpourri of people that might be suffering PTSD someone with a catastrophic injury like I had, that's paralyzed, something kind of on the edge, edgy type individuals to enter into your 9-month study?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, ideally, I mean, it is a healing effect that people get, and that is really the factor that influences also the cells becoming, in a sense, de-stressed and younger. So if there are stressed people entering the program, that's not a bad thing, because they need the help the most. Yeah. So, mhm.
What all does the program entail in terms of when I'm telling someone about this? What would they be doing on a daily basis or weekly basis, monthly? What all does that entail?
Well, they don't need to do anything. That's a good thing. They would just be joining. So they would just be joining, and they might be just ask once in a while, how is it going for them? But it's very passive in that way. They don't have to follow a diet or regimen or a meditation schedule or anything like that. They just have to be kind of, I guess, willing to participate and have 3 tests collected. So like, is this
3
three
tests.
finger pricks, where you get a little blood dot, and then you send it in. So and then at the end you get the data and you see where everything landed. So if you're became younger or aged more quickly, but most people have aged quicker than their chronological age these days. So most people are just not in a great shape in this day and age, and we're looking at things that can actually slow down the aging in humans. So not for vanity purposes, but just for staying healthy as long as possible, because we're under a lot of stress these days. Yeah.
Right.
What kind of sorry, Angie, you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, Daniel, I'd be interested in participating in it. I mean, I'm day 67 now of alcohol recovery, so it'd be really nice to see.
Wow. Love it. I would love it.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm interested in it, and
Yeah.
if I know, when I understand more about it, I can mention it to people that I know, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd be happy to, whoever's interested, and if you're interested, I'm happy to talk to you one-on-one about it, what kind of the aging clocks are and what they measure, and there's different ways of predicting disease in the future and things like that. It's actually highly interesting. I'm getting it done on myself too. So I'm being the first guinea pig here and getting my test done and see what comes out. I'm a little scared. I might get really bad numbers, but it's whatever, it's just I gotta face it, what damage I've done in my life to myself. So yeah.
Wait, is that $10? That negative self-talk?
No, I'm just trying to be funny. Yeah.
He's saying he might get a bad result. Good call. So how long does the trial go for, Dan?
Hey, you have to be determined depending on the funding, but most likely 9 months.
Because this probably won't work. When we get to my ask, I'm looking to get a small documentary crew and possibly a medical expert to supervise a 7 to 10 day dry fast attempt that I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it ties in so beautifully with what you're doing, because it's all about the telomere extensions and the amount of data coming out, particularly from Russian doctors as well. It's not super well known, but I'd want to do it before 9 months. It'd be good to do your thing and then do the dry fast to see if there's any comparison.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, the telomere testing is actually not that cutting edge anymore. They have like 3 generations of clocks now, epigenetic clocks, that are actually more accurate than the telomere length assessments. So and I can send you that company I'm using now. They're cutting edge. I mean, they're really, really, really good. Yeah. So
that's interesting. So you can do a pinprick test and you can work out like exactly where you're at with your health.
Yeah.
And that is
pretty much, it can pretty much tell you how many cigarettes you've smoked throughout your life and how much alcohol you've consumed. So it's a little scary. Yeah.
Ange, are you sure you want to do this test?
Actually,
Oh, if I want to do it.
I don't know if I want to do it. I got a buddy in college. He drank so much when he dies, if we cremate his body, we'll never get the flame to go out. So we need to
Well, the good news about this is it's all reversible. So that's the thing. Is like the epigenome is not a static thing. It's actually that part of your makeup that's just interacting with the environment. So if you're making your environment more favorable, it will actually go backwards again. So that's the beauty of the human body, that we're always driving towards coherence and health and optimization naturally. Unless we interfere a lot with our lifestyle, then it doesn't do that. Yeah.
So in my words, Daniel, what you're teaching me, what I think I'm hearing you're saying, there's a difference between the age of our body and our biological age.
Absolutely.
So I'm 65, but if I had taken better care of myself, I might really be 47. Is that what you're saying?
Pretty much. I mean, we don't know how big you can turn it backwards, but some people are 10 years younger, that have been doing this kind of research, and they look like, like they're 65, but they look like 45, and it's all still okay. Everything's researched right now, but there's definitely a lot of room for improvement. And how far we can stretch it, we don't know yet. So, yeah, for sure.
Who was your mentor? What was his name again, Daniel?
His mentor was Professor Dr. William Tiller. He was featured in the movie What the Bleep Do You Know? And he was absolutely brilliant and very spiritually enlightened human being. He was a unification of a spiritual heart and a very bright intellectual mind, and he's absolutely way beyond his time. And that's why he had a hard time at Stanford as well, because he was just thinking way outside the box. We raised pH of water systemically up and down, things like that, in the laboratory and at distance. So, those are way cool experiments. And I was so privileged to meet him during the last years of his life, where he was still alive and smart enough to have those kinds of conversations with me. So I was his last doctoral student. Yeah.
So awesome. Just to be, I'm just trying to get a visualization of what's happening, right? So like if let's say the people in this room were participating, right? So it's passive. Is there going to be do you have somebody in a distant location that is just sending intentions to people to heal? Is that what's going on?
Well, first I apologize because I'm not explaining it very good. So it's actually, the cool thing about this is not intercessory prayer where somebody's praying or sending intentions towards somebody. This is where an imprinting process takes place, where an intention is connected to a device, which then broadcasts continually 24/7 a day, that intention into your home. Okay, so we do this every 3 months. We put the device again together with the meditators who have an intention, and we entangle it with the device, and then it broadcasts to whoever's participating. So it's kind of like you're making an intention almost like an independent variable. Okay, so it's not fluctuating every day if I feel like I want to send you a prayer or not. This is like something you can actually replicate. So if I send this device, let's say, to you in your home, and your home is going to get that energy, right? But we don't even have to do that because we can just send it at distance.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yes. And it's just shown to decrease symptoms of autism in children and increase self-compassion in individuals who have participated. And I have those papers. We published those papers. So whoever wants to have those, I can send them to you. So,
yeah. That's awesome.
Daniel Clark, Daniel Hanna is affectionately known as Carl Jung 2.0.
Oh, wow.
He didn't declare it like world's best courage coach either. Someone else gave it to him.
Yeah. Well, Dr. William Tiller actually said that to me. So that professor we were talking about, he said that, Daniel, I think you're going to be the new Carl Jung. And that's the reason why he wanted to work with me, because my specialty was psychology and his specialty was physics and engineering. So we both had like different kind of brains connect in a miraculous way. So we had a real fruitful, creative exploration together.
Wow. And your accent makes you sound even smarter than you already are, good brother.
Thank you.
Right.
I hope I don't have the flavor of Arnold Schwarzenegger, but I'm from the same country.
Oh, it's more like snatch the pebble from my hand, grasshopper.
Get to the chopper. So, so Dan, is there a link that people can register interest in that you could give us, that we could, or could you create a post on Facebook that we could share? Because I think that could be a lot of people. I mean, who wouldn't want people to be praying for them?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's not quite praying, but it's sending good like a very smart intention to somebody. So
Yeah.
that does exactly what you tell it to do. So it is in a way like prayer, you're right, but it's not religious or anything like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Is
even
the
good, I mean,
technology, sorry, Laban.
you're
Mhm.
right. You're right.
I was just gonna say, is the technology something that is the part of the study to then take that technology and then get it out to more places? Or-
100%. Before, because I could already do this, I could already sell this to, well, I don't know, like anybody, right? Just because we already have preliminary data from other experiments like autism, self-compassion, depression, anxiety. But I want to first run a trial project and a pilot project to see if this works, because I want to show people the numbers and the graphs, where how age is impacted over time. So once people see something, they're just bought in more, and I think that matters as well. So I'm going to try this out for 9 months. If it works, then it will be a commercially available product that people can purchase, and there's no limit to how many people can purchase it at a time. So it's available to anybody who has a desire and need to improve their health.
I love it. Wow.
Well, my maturity age is very flexible, right? It drops like down to about 11 years old when I'm around my daughter.
That's a good thing.
If I could just get my health age to do the same thing, right? That would be awesome.
No, those are really connected. If you have a very active inner child and you're very connected to inner child, your youthfulness will also be reflected in your appearance, and your cells will also reflect that. So for sure, there's
Nice.
actually a real connection with that. Being playful is a good thing.
That's good to know.
If
So
I could make a comment. So I was hospitalized with COVID last Christmas, not this Christmas, over Christmas holidays. I almost died. My oxygen was 81, 82, 30 minutes from being intubated. And I checked myself out of the hospital because I knew that was a death sentence. Came home with pneumonia. What kept me alive is my daughter hijacked my social media, whatever that was, and hers, and basically sent out the message: anybody who has been touched by my dad's, voice or wisdom or book, please text him. Here's his number. And what literally kept me alive were the one-line quotes, the one-line text that I was getting from old high school mates I hadn't heard from for 1,000 years, old teammates, celebrities. Clark, I'm sorry you're sick, but there's easier ways to get attention. So to your point, Daniel, just the energy that those one-line encouraging, intentional, get well, I'm thinking of you, I love you, I need you messages occurred. I know that circumvented any medicine they were injecting into my body. That's why I was able to survive and thrive and get out of the hospital and recover.
Wow.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Amazing.
What you're saying, yeah, I validate it 100%.
Daniel, I feel like there could be a lot of overlap. In terms of, what your expertise is and what I like to talk about, because, I feel like a lot of the mindset and health and wellness space today, we have a lot of, the meditation and the affirmations. And while all of that is amazing, it's a tool that works. I also, like you do with research, back that up and say, look, this stuff actually does work. This isn't quote unquote woo woo. Like, this is real life stuff that affects your biology. It affects the way you think. It affects the way that your love life, the way that you can interact with your children, how long you can be around, the way that you feel, your hormones, all of these things, all these tools actually have valuable, backable data, and so when you talk about meditation and the way that increases gray matter in the brain and like all these other things that we're starting to understand and realize more about our biology, that's the kind of stuff that I really get into. So when I was listening to you talk, I'm like, wow, this is awesome, because to me, your physical health is the cornerstone to everything else, right? Dan, I'm sure at that time of your life, no matter how many amazing things you've done, you were sitting there and you were like, all I want is my health. Nothing else matters at this moment, right?
Yep.
And so when you take that away, all your problems seem to melt because you can't do anything. You're not healthy. And so it's it's a big part of why I do what I do. And I think there's a lot of correlation. I think there's a lot of people that you and I could maybe connect with and connect each other with. So as we continue, we'll be in touch on that.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. And as soon as I have a link that has kind of like a landing page that describes the information of the project, then I will share it with you all. I don't have that yet, so but it will become available within the next month.
Now that Evan teased that out of you, Daniel, I know like you could easily say, would you like positive intentions sent your day, sent to you every day? I presume there'll be a test group that don't get it, but like however you want to word that would be, you could put that in the Ultimate Coach Facebook group and you get all the numbers you needed immediately, particularly people that are aligned.
Yeah.
I'd love to be involved, but I don't think it suits with what I'm planning with my body and a few other things, right?
We can talk about it, we can talk about it. So depends also when you do your dry fast and when we start. So, but yeah, this will be available for a very long time. So if you don't do it this time around, then definitely in the future.
Well, the thing I love about my health journey is that I've been documenting all of my blood work for 10 years now. And more detailed in the last 3-4 years. So it's really, really interesting to go back over and see how well my body's healing from the years of abuse that I subjected it to. And you're right, Mason. People talk to me, they say, "Laban, what's your superpower, man?" And I go, it's my diet. My diet underpinned all of my healing. I didn't need to go through 12-step. Like I was able to rationalize and use my brain, cognitive function and memory to be able to retain the information that I was learning and fix it all. And I don't meet many people that experience that, right? Because they're trying to do the hard yard somewhere else and try to, shortcut everything. It's so interesting. But yeah, I love it, man. I love it.
Yeah, I have a hard stop at 2:30 my time here Pacific, so I'll have to go. But I appreciate everybody listening, and it will be something that I'm working on for the next couple of months. So as things come up, if you guys have inspiration or if you meet somebody that reminds you of what I'm doing, please put them in touch with me, and be very, very happy about that. And
awesome.
Thank you.
Evans, while we've got a couple of minutes with Daniel Hana, what do you need help with, brother?
I don't really, I'll think about it. I'll share something. How about if I start by sharing something, Laban, real quick?
You better share something.
This might be helpful for some people in the room, right? So I sort of shared a little bit with you the other day. So for the entire month, pretty much all my energy has been going towards this master live event, 4-hour master class that I was teaching, right? Just getting people there. I had the biggest, but even when I was doing my first one alone, before I did them always with Michelle, my strategic partner in podcasting, this one I wanted to do on my own, had the biggest audience we'd ever had, or like when we ever had, right? I got the most signups, the most people showing up, had everything going towards it. This was going to be my, big thing for the month. I had a new program that I was already thinking that I was going to launch with it, get into it. And I was loving it. I was feeling it, Laban. And I heard Laban, I want to give Laban credit because the day before I was doing this, I was actually going back through with my notes on my iPad, sort of cutting and pasting, moving things around. All of a sudden I was like, it wasn't feeling right. And I heard Laban's voice saying, just forget about all the stuff. Just be you. People want you, not really what you're saying as much. Right. So I'm probably paraphrasing that a little bit, but I heard that. So I eliminated everything. And I basically just wrote like little like this, and had it outlined. Went in having the best time. Energy's high. People are loving it. People weren't leaving. Get to it. The way this works, it's 4 hours, and there's no pitch, no offer stack kind of thing. It's not like a webinar. But at hour 3, you usually get into some deep, like internal objections, like emotional, feely kind of stuff. So that's at the end of that is where I usually lead them to this sort of decision thing where they in their mind start thinking, you know, yes, I'm all in. I got to do this. I got to make a decision. I got to step into my purpose. I have to do it. Right. I sort of lead them to that through stories. And then I usually will just say, hey, you know, I know there wasn't I promised I wasn't going to pitch, but is it okay if I invite you to something? Right. So I make it real casual. Well, in this one, everything's going great. I mean, I could see people, I was already envisioning like, I'm going to be overflowing with sales appointments. Probably 10 minutes before I'm going to do the application, the invitation, the freaking internet goes out. Not only does the internet go out, but I try to hotspot my phone and the Verizon network isn't working.
Oh,
I mean,
no.
how amazing is it that at that moment in time, and they're two separate companies, I don't have the same company for both. That moment in time, both of those shut down. I could not even message anybody to tell them what was going on. I couldn't do anything. I was just like, what the, you know, so I was a little bit upset at first. But if this would have been 4 years ago, my computer would have probably gone through the window, but not anymore. Thank goodness. But so eventually what I found out what happened with them, it was really cool. They actually all stayed around and networked and made some connections and relationships. But, you know, it was actually more freeing than anything. Because remember, I sent you a message, Laban. I was like, everything happens for a reason. There's a reason this happened. And when I woke up today, I was like, I'm relieved. I really didn't want to do the program that I was going to do. I was going after it for the wrong reason. I could see dollars. I was like, this is going to be at least $50,000 that I probably lost minimum. It could have been more. But I didn't want to do the thing that I was going to do to deliver to get that $50,000. And so now it's almost like, I'm glad it happened. Did I intentionally create that? Because here's the thing. I asked the question, like in meditation, just ask the question, right? Like as if, what is the right thing? You know, is it either make this today, give me, you know, show me what's supposed to happen. And I was asking also, I actually put in my journal, you know, let me serve these people at the highest level with no expectation on the result. And when I looked at that later that night, I was like, I can't be mad about this because I just asked for that, right? I was serving them at the highest level and I was not attached. I was supposed to not be attached to the result, right? But literally today, I feel so much more free that I don't have to do the thing that I was going to do. And it made me step back. But here's the crazy thing. Like I had a $5,000 sale today because somebody just reached out to me and she was like, I just want to talk to you. So I'm just instead of doing that program, I'm doing some consulting where I don't have to be a coach and practically beg people to do stuff. Instead, I can choose the person I want to work with and work with them in a way that they actually get the result because I know they will get it done because they got to come meet with me, you know, once every 2 weeks or whatever the structure is around this consulting program. But I got 3 people that reached out before the day was done saying, hey, I got to book a time with you. How do I talk to you? I want to work with you. So it's like it weeded. And all 3 of those people are people that I know that I was like, I would like to work with that person. So it was a pretty crazy experience, but I just wanted to share that because I had the realization today that it was like, you know, my energy was not excited about the program that I was putting together. And it's stuff that I teach all the time, but I just didn't want to do the way I had it structured in my mind. I didn't want to do like a big group coaching program for the next 8 weeks. I wanted to work more with people on their level individually and just charge more and choose who I work with so I can focus on something else I'm building at the moment. But yeah, so it was pretty crazy. So I know that's not an ask, but I just wanted to share that because I was like, that was pretty crazy.
Evans, may I comment?
Sure.
This to me reminds me of socially acceptable prostitution, because well, it's true.
You'll have to explain.
Oh, I will. Allow me to elaborate. So prostitution, you're selling your body, you're getting money, you have that energy exchange. But here you are going against the grain and your soul of what you actually wanted to do, what actually made you happy, but you're doing it anyway. So you're just saying, I didn't want to do a coaching program for 8 weeks, but in your mind, you're like, this is 50 grand. I can do this. I'll do it. So you're going, like, you're sacrificing your heart, your dreams, your purpose, or your desires for money. But instead, you turned it around and honored yourself and just went, actually, I don't even want to do that. So it's like my story, being in a relationship where you're not happy, but they're supporting you. It's socially acceptable prostitution, because I'm allowing a pattern to continue because it brings me finance and puts a roof over my head, but I'm not happy. So it's the same thing.
Exactly.
And then when you did honor yourself, look what happens. You've got clients coming in anyway. It's just beautiful. I love how it's so important that we operate out of a place of honoring ourselves and of love and service. I mean, that's what we all do. We're here to serve people and bring an impact and, create that ripple effect in the world with whatever it is that we do. Excuse me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. And it was, I mean, it's not that I don't like doing the thing that I was going to do, but I already had some pushback against it. And I could feel that energy, and it was funny because it's like, you just wake up, and I was just like, today, I was like, I feel better today than I've felt in a long time, because I'm not going to do that thing. And then today, actually, on my whiteboard over here behind me, just like this idea came to my head immediately, and it was like, oh my gosh, this is exactly something perfect that I'm excited about. So yeah, so it opened up the space. So I'll now have clients that will give me the money that I need, and now I'll have something that I can create that's got me excited, right, at the same time. So it was pretty wild experience, because one of my coaches was like sending me messages. He's like, well, get them all back on tomorrow and do this thing. And then, invite them back and you can still do it. And I was just like, I don't even, it didn't feel right. I did invite everybody because I felt bad. I invited everybody to a bonus session. And then basically I just taught, like really taught, like gave value, like do this, do that, do this, and answered questions instead of going through, the talk without giving value, without really giving value, kind of thing. Right. So, but yeah, thank you for sharing that. Cause I didn't even realize I was doing it until later. It was like, why am I chasing this money just because, yeah, it would be nice to have it. Cause I was getting excited. Cause I'm like, look at all these people that are coming, right? Look how good this is going. But who's to say? It might've like turned out maybe only like 4 or 5 would have applied anyway. So you just never know, right? I put all these ideas and expectations out there, even though I told myself I wouldn't. So it's still hard, even when we do, we do the right things every day and we practice the right things. When that, like, you're thrown in the fire, there's still that reaction sometimes. So the thing I have to sort of pat myself on the back though, is that I knew what was happening, and I was able to stop myself from getting overly upset about it. Right. I was like, I don't have any control over this anyway. What am I going to do now? Right. It's like, what's the next step? So I was able to clearly think well enough to know, like, okay, well, this happened, so now I can do this, instead of being reactionary and angry and stressed and all that, like I would have been like 4 years ago. So I don't really have an ask, except for I would just say that if anybody knows you know, Laban always knows the kind of people I'm looking for to work with. I'm looking for, you know, successful people. I told my coach the other day, I said, you know, instead of saying that I help podcasting entrepreneurs, I told her, I was like, what I really want to do is I want to impact the impactors. Right. Because if I can bring my superpowers to people like you all who are already doing good things, then I can amplify that. And so I'm impacting the impactors, right? I'm spreading it even farther than it could ever reach in the first place. So that's really my goal now, is just to look for these people. And one thing I'm doing, just so y'all know, that I'm doing this, like Tommy, I'm working with him now, and John Mitchell already did his, but I'm doing something now. I create these selling stories, and I do selling story interviews with the entrepreneur, very casual on Zoom, but they use that then in place of like a pitchy salesy webinar, VSL, and things like that. It's more of a casual interview done in a way that takes people through like a journey, a story arc that leads them to the end where they're like, oh, you know, and I'll ask them, I'll be like, you know, Laban, where can folks find out more about this or learn how, see if you're a good fit to help them? And usually it's like, well, right down below here, there's probably a button they can click to book a call. So if you guys know of run across anybody that's looking for that piece of core content like that, that's delivered in a way, because what I do, I work with the person. I'm like, you don't even have to do anything. It's like, you know what, Laban, you just show up. We go through the process. I pull the story out of them. I help them work it in a way that flows through the process, because it goes from like origin story to the system story to internal objections, external objections. It's like a webinar, but done in a podcast interview. And then I play I'm leading the dance. All you have to do is show up and let me play my part. And it's very easy to go through that flow. So if you guys run across anybody that's looking for, you know, help with they don't have like a sales process or something that's 24/7 evergreen, that's something I can provide them.
Yeah. When you said impacting the impactors, it reminded me when I was trying to brainstorm what my message is or who I was trying to reach. And it was, you know, along those same lines, helping you help yourself so you can help others. Right. It's that whole thing of, if you're not loving yourself, or if you're not treating yourself correctly in terms of, you know, your physical fitness or your mental health, then you're never going to be the best for your spouse, for your kids, for your business partners, for everyone else in your life. So I definitely resonate with that message of impacting the impact.
I agree.
It's a good line. It's a good line.
What you reminded me of, Evan, is a couple of great quotes. Adversity is what introduces us to ourselves. No one will ever know how strong we are until being strong is our only choice. So I was paralyzed for 14 months. And if you think about it, if I hadn't been paralyzed, I would have never met you today. And this has clearly changed my stars. So my injury, my accident, is clearly one of the best things that ever happened to me. Your disappointment in your big production is clearly one of the best things that ever happened to you, because now you're a better man. You're more empathetic, more understanding. You're more mentally tough. I don't want you to misunderstand that my accident or my paralysis was one of the best things that ever happened to me, but who I became as a man and what I learned about priorities and relationships and time as a result of going through the setback clearly makes it one of the best things that ever happened to me. So I think it'll be amusing to evaluate and then interview you later, Evan, to see what magnificent thing came out of this because it occurred.
Yeah,
Guaranteed.
absolutely.
Guaranteed.
I agree. Thank you for that. Yeah, definitely. It's that's what I mean, honestly, I could not have looked at it that way even probably like 8 months ago. So it's always that putting in the work, like Mason says, like, right, you can talk about being spiritual or about focusing on yourself or working on your mindset, but if you don't actually do the work, do the practice, put in the reps every day, then, and I can tell the huge difference, right? It's putting in those reps. every day that allowed me to just sort of sit back and go, okay, this happened. Well, what can I do? What's the next step? And then I just sort of opened up and let it come to me. So, thank you for that.
Laban's beloved wife, Anya, when they were in my basement, when we first met belly to belly, he brought up somebody that he knew that just does not rub me anyway right. I mean, this guy's, what a joke. And she, in her quiet, confident, spiritual, soulful self, said, "Let him be your teacher." That changed me forever. I don't know how many days ago that was, Laban, but this event that didn't turn out exactly like you hoped it would, Evan, or like you planned it would. When you let it be your teacher, it changes everything. I have changed so much in the last few days because everything that's negative, even having a plane cancel and having to scramble Rule 240 and run to the other concourse to catch another flight so I never miss a speech. It became my teacher. American Airlines became my teacher. I will only fly Delta from now on. It became
right. I love that. Well, let's jump to Laban before we run out of time, because I feel bad. Laban always gets the short end of the stick. So thank y'all for all that, but I appreciate the perspective.
I derive so much enjoyment watching all of the creation happen from this perspective. It's kind of like the parent looking at the kids sort of growing or playing in the playground.
No. Be honest. You're at the zoo and you're watching the animals. Don't lie.
I honestly, up until the last 24 hours, have had so much swirling around in my head in terms of the future of where Anna and I are going to position ourselves, and now we've been able to figure this out. It's really freed me up. What happened when I spent the last 3 or 4 months planning this speaking event in Florida, which is the reason I'm even in Utah, because it didn't go ahead. I neglected to focus on building my coaching business and really enrolling people that would benefit from being in the mastermind. I don't expect anyone to introduce me to coaching clients unless they really feel energetically that it's aligned. And to give you an idea, the people that I'm realizing that I love working with are exactly what Evans is talking about. I want access to the people that are able to influence the most amount of decisions. And that's case in point with this one client I've got if his business gets over the line and we get it live, and it was never going to until I got involved, it could be $1 billion business. And that's the kind of impact that I want to have on the world. People that have already done a lot of work on themselves, that have invested a lot already, and that need one final push. And then for people with the mastermind as well, we haven't created an incentive to bring other people to the mastermind, because we don't want money to be the reason why people are recommending people. We want people to energetically be aligned, because we know that the value that people get by connecting the right kind of people is priceless. So it's really, if you dig deep into your network of people, there'll be 1 or 2 that you think would really resonate with being in this mastermind. Evans and I would love to speak to them to see whether they're aligned with the core beliefs and the value of the group. And that would help us out a lot, because Mason was recommended by a former member, Sue Birch from New Zealand, which is, sorry, was that right? Yeah, it was. Yeah, through Tommy Breedlove.
I had Tommy on. Yeah, I had Tommy on the podcast. Goodness, probably over a year ago for sure. Maybe even close to 2 years ago. He was first 50 episodes. I had Tommy on. Yeah.
So that's my ask. And once I get established here, Dan, we're going to Florida next week. We'll be back in a week and a half. I'm going to need a place to live So, but we can talk about that tonight.
Absolutely.
Like not your house, but a rental. But
Yeah,
Dan's
I'd like to tactfully threw that in, you know, he's under the mat.
he's got a cool house, Dan. He's got 3 rooms full of the most extraordinary photographs of him and every famous person you can think of.
Except Evan and Gordon and Angela. Dan.
Hey, Dan, before we go, would you indulge us all and tell us about Muhammad Ali?
Yeah, I was the, let me see if I can get somebody to answer this door really quick. I'm sorry, my dog's barking. Just 1 second, just for 1 second here. You guys keep talking and I'll jump back on in 1 second.
All right.
Okay.
Can you just make sure you have a spare room for me, Laban? So when I come over, I have somewhere to lay my head.
Yeah, we want to make sure we've got space to have our favorite guests.
Oh,
You'll have to come out and hang out in Utah though. We're like,
absolutely.
it's
So,
such
Angela,
a cool place, man.
You know what? I've got a guest at the door and I've got to answer the door. I don't know where my wife went. So I will, if you're
Save
gonna
it
be
for next time.
I'll jump on the next one. We'll talk tonight, Laban. Nice
All
to
right.
meet all, if you'll excuse me.
All right,
Thanks,
brother.
Dan.
Then.
Nice
Bye.
to meet you.
So much.
Yeah, so I was trying to figure out how far Utah is from South Carolina and Minnesota, because that's where I'll probably be. But then I'm speaking at a conference in Vegas as well.
It's
What,
about.
what are you doing in
Yeah,
South
right.
Carolina?
I have a friend there, so I'm going to go and stay with her. I don't know what we're doing. She
Nice.
lives there.
Well, that's what I meant. Like, what are you doing coming to South Carolina? I was just curious.
Yeah, she's there, so I'll probably have Thanksgiving, because I go to Jamaica I have a conference in Jamaica 15 to the 21st of November, and then I'll leave Jamaica and come to America and have Thanksgiving over there. We don't do Thanksgiving here. This is super cool. My second Thanksgiving in America. Oh, so much fun. And then I'll probably leave before Christmas. My kids might appreciate it if I'm home for Christmas.
Well, Laban, and here's something too I'll share. So yeah, you definitely got to find out where that is, because hopefully it's near Charleston at least, because the rest of the state's not that great. But the upstate isn't too bad though, up in near the mountains. But Laban, Aaron. I'm interviewing him for Sold with Podcasts, which is, I promise I'm going to eventually launch that as an actual podcast. But the reason I wanted to interview him was because he told me that by being a guest, like all he did was guest on podcasts, and he grew his mastermind to 150 people. He said at least 98% of his mastermind members came from him just being on other podcasts. So I want to get the inside scoop and figure out what he was doing, what he was saying, like how that process looked. Not saying that we want to grow this to 150 people and make it non-intimate, but I was like, that's interesting. It might be something good just to bring that knowledge back to the group too, right? Since we're all in the podcast world going on other shows, like how do we get people? Obviously he's really good at getting people, guests or listeners, to move from being a listener of like Mason's show to then going over to his thing. So that's one of the big gaps that people always tend to have an issue with. How do I get people? How do I make it profitable to get on a pod? Why should I do it? Right? Like, how do I see an actual ROI for being a podcast guest? And he's dialed it in somehow. So I'm interested in pulling that out from him. And when I do, I'll come back and share it, hopefully on the next one. I don't remember when our interview is. It's in a few weeks, I think.
What's his name?
You're
Evan?
muted. It's Aaron Walker, but he pronounces it Aaron.
Yeah, AARON.
He's from Nashville.
He's really good friends with Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey, before Dave Ramsey was huge, sponsored, or he either sponsored Aaron or Aaron did something, and then they've become super close. And the masterminds that he runs, like we've talked about doing another like a lower level mastermind. I don't want to use lower as in like a less effective, but it would be less intimate with more people in it that other people run. So he doesn't actually involve himself in the day-to-day running of the mastermind. He just sort of facilitates all the back end stuff, which is when you learn this stuff, Evans, because I didn't ask him about it because his backstory is really interesting as well. But when you find that out, that'd be really, really valuable to share to everyone, that everyone can go and create, because there's no reason why every single person in this mastermind shouldn't have their own mastermind with legions of people, right? Like,
Yeah,
we're not attached
and
to
what
it.
his goal, I can't remember what he said the timeline is for, but he's launching his own podcast. So because he's like, now I want to do, I need to get my message out on my own platform. But his goal is to get it to 300 members here in like the next, I don't know, it might even be by the end of this year. I don't remember what it was, but so his next phase is, how do I grow the mastermind through the podcast itself? So that'll be an interesting follow-up interview down the road, right? And then get both sides of the story, being a guest and then also doing it from your own show.
Yeah,
So-
he's a fascinating dude. Before we wrap this up, I put in an email today about the next event being about 3 weeks from now, Evans.
You put the wrong date on it though.
Oh, really?
You put like a Saturday or something.
It's going off
Laban
my time.
he struggles with numbers.
That's
Not negative self-taught though. That's like,
I've got Thursday, the 13th in my calendar. Did I put another date in the email?
yeah, the email, I think you put the 8th or something, but yeah.
Oh God.
No,
Yeah. I don't think anyone reads those emails, thankfully, anyway.
probably not.
So this will be mastermind number 8 is the next one. So Thursday, the 13th. So it would be a day early, it'd be a Friday morning for you, Ange.
Mm.
And Mason, you're on it.
Central.
That's my interview appointment with Zach, but that's all right. We'll postpone it.
Okay, cool. You'll be able to figure it out. I'll send an invite and the recording link and the transcript, which I'm using via Otter. So before we go, Mason, your first 3-hour session official, how do you feel?
Feel good. At the end of the day, I think connections is the best thing that we can have, right? Authentic connections. That was one of the reasons why I started the podcast, was because I didn't think we were having enough real, raw conversations. And obviously you've put together a great group of people, because everyone was able to be authentic and open up really quickly with, new faces in the room. So I think that's huge. Obviously on the podcast side, really excited to work with Evans on putting together some really specific stuff around that. But even Dan, I'm definitely going to call Dan. I think just having someone like that that's been around the block, even just as a mentor, just someone to talk to and bounce things off of, I mean, that's priceless as well. So Gordon was another one, with just the connections in Nashville. I mean, there's 2 people already today that we've talked about that are in Nashville. So that thought of utilizing and being able to take advantage of what Nashville is right now is something that I've kicked around a lot. And so definitely, once you guys keep that in the back of your mind, one of the ideas that I thought about was actually opening a podcast studio, renting some space specific for that. And then being able to not only do content creation, so have long form content creation, but then to be able to take their long form content, break it down into social media posts, and be able to almost have like another tier where you manage their social media like professionally off of the time that they've also rented the space to come in and have a professional studio. So I've kicked around stuff like that as well. This city is just blowing up, as a lot of you guys know. A lot of a young crowd. It's really like Austin, Texas was, 3 or 4 years ago. Everywhere you look is cranes, and the masses are coming in. A lot of young people, a lot of entrepreneurs. So really trying to figure out how to utilize that to, my advantage. So, but today was great. I'm excited to keep meeting, keep seeing what we can put together and, putting some of this stuff into action on my end. So
one thing too that, I know Gordon talked about, and I see it all the time too. It's really true that a lot of times our ideal dream client is who we were like a year ago, 2 years ago, whatever, because and that sort of hit me too, because I'm like, I need to be looking for, I'm a little older. I could find people like me who are looking to move out of like something that's not serving their purpose and then serving their purpose. Right. But for you, Mason, if it's a good fit, I truly do think that you would have that connection. Not necessarily, I'm not talking about the NIL stuff, but like,
right.
Like for instance, I know I have a friend, he's in sports and entertainment, and then one of his partners who's become a friend of mine is Levon Kirkland, who he's an all pro Pittsburgh Steeler linebacker. Right. And I mean, he's an athlete and he's still struggling with like, how do I move to the next phase? Right. And there's so many professional athletes, even college, like ones that did really well in college and maybe they didn't make it into the NFL or the NBA or whatever. There's a lot of them that are very entrepreneurial and they want to move in that direction. And I think that's something that, you could serve those kind of people and they would connect and resonate with you really quickly. And would offer you, that would be a great mastermind in itself, right? Like all these, guys, girls coming together, like what's it like when you step, I know like even Laban and I talked to a guy here in South Carolina that used to, he was like the right-hand man of Barack Obama, right? Laban, I can't remember his name, but he played at University of South Carolina. And he talks about that too. Like he meets people all the time. They're struggling with depression. They don't know what to do because they're so used to the way the athlete's lifestyle was. And then they got out and they're like, I don't even really know who I'm supposed to be now. So I don't know if that's who you're looking to serve, but there's a lot of them that are looking to do really good things in the world and want to not just be another cog in the wheel.
Right.
And you're moving in that direction already. And right. And here's the thing that I've just is like, people don't really care about, they don't really want to work with the guru. They want to work with the guide. Right. Yeah. Like think about when you go like to scale Mount Everest, right? The guy that's already done it's not standing at the top waving at you like, come on, you're doing great, keep coming, right? Like you work with a Sherpa who's there with you every day with, a few steps in front of you. And that's what people are looking for. So I think there's a lot of power in that. If that resonates with you as a way to really start finding some people that would be a good fit for what you're looking to do.
It does. And I think when you have that person with that kind of mindset, athletic background, they obviously know what sacrifice is. They know what time management is. A lot of them may have sizable followings already. I think that even piggybacks off of like the consulting piece for a podcast. Like you want your voice to be heard more. You have this great following. Like here's the roadmap too. I mean, that falls into your wheelhouse as well. But just using that, 2.5 years now and what I'm going to continue to learn from you and the group, could even add to that, add layers to it as it grows.
Yeah, definitely. I love it.
Ange, how are you feeling?
How am I feeling? Like the little 3 hours sleep that I had is worth it. I love coming to this mastermind, and I think I might only have 1 or 2 left in my 6 months, something like that. So I'm always blown away by the caliber of people and the connections and the insight and different perspectives that are brought to the table here. Yeah, look, at the moment I need to make some money, so but like we were discussing before, Evans, like I need it to come from a place of service, not from a place of desperation, not from a place of urgency or anything like that. So I guess my focus is mostly on, like what I've said, is the getting that coaching program out of there, getting it out. I keep having this thing that comes to me. I have this water bottle, right? Costs me $130 bucks Australian. So that's probably about 100 American.
About
And I
80
get 80 bucks. I get comments on it everywhere I go. And I keep, and you know me, like I've always bling, my normal glasses covered in bling, like just can never have enough. And I get comments on this endlessly. And I'm like, I could have sold 1,000 water bottles by now. And I keep getting this thing, All Things Bling, as a title, and to just find a distributor to sell these things, and maybe steering wheel covers and number plate covers. Like, just, I'm like, what? Where do I even start finding these things? I wouldn't have a clue. So that's something that keeps coming up for me. Like, it's just this niggling thing that will not disappear.
Well, this is a little different because I would keep focusing on the coaching thing, right? But those people love when they join programs to get the swag, right? Like we were on a call the other day. Michelle was talking about James Malachek. Like he constantly gives his people stuff with his name, his logo on it, right? So if you put like your logo, your thing on that, and you give it, like, I mean, look at me. I'm a walking billboard for Russell Brunson all the time. But people love that kind of stuff. And that's what she said. James Malachek does the same thing. So even if you're not selling it like directly, just having that kind of stuff to give to your clients when they come join your program, it's amazing how, like, just a shirt, like I spend 20,000 for a coaching program. I get excited when they send me a book and a shirt. It's like I'm renewing, right? I'm all in for a book, the most expensive book ever. But yeah, so I love that. But I wanted to ask you about your coaching program before we jump off too, if we have time. But have you already built the course? Have you already created it? Or are you creating it as you go?
I'm going to jump, guys. Sorry to interrupt. I got to run though.
All right, dude.
Corey,
Appreciate it,
Thanks.
brother.
See you,
See you,
Mason.
bro.
Nice to meet you, Angela.
I'll be in. Let's connect, Mason, and we'll set up a time to talk.
Yep. I'll connect with both of you guys. See ya.
All right. Thanks.
Okay, so I did my transformational coaching, and within that, they give you the 12 weeks ready to go. So I have that, but I did write up my own spiel about it and my own offer, I suppose you'd call it. Yeah.
So you just need to get in front of the right audiences to sell it then, right?
Yeah. And I love what Mason said about the hashtags, because I was like, yeah, everyone says I'll reach out to people. How? But then, okay, so looking at the hashtags was extremely helpful.
Or like Laban was mentioning earlier about, you have contacts there, but what about even through the Les Brown connection, right? Through that, if there's like people that could, because all you need to do, really all you need to do to, like, are you going to sell it as a course or as a course plus coaching?
At the moment, it's coaching. I will sell it as the course.
Okay,
Yeah,
so all you got to do is just find 3 or 4 people that have a big audience and just offer to go on there and like do a training. This is what we did when we launched a challenge, and I realized, luckily I launched the challenge with Dave Woodward's son, and Dave Woodward's the CEO of ClickFunnels. So his son had a lot of connections. Like he was like he had connections like Laban with all his connections. So he was able to reach out to people. But what we did was we were like, neither one of us had a big audience. So we reached out to some of these people that had the groups, right? And all we literally did was like, hey, we'll come in and, can we come share some knowledge about podcasts? Can I come serve for like an hour on a live? Will you be there with us? Because then there's that borrowed ethos. There's already that trust. Like if it's Laban's group, and I show up next to him, people already feel like they trust me a little bit more. But then we just talked for like an hour, and we gave value. But then at the end, you know, they asked us that they were like, well, you told us before that you had a thing coming up. Do you want to tell everybody about it? And so then we just shared, and they would put the link. And I mean, that's literally how we ended up getting, I think, like 150 people to our challenge in just a matter of like 2 weeks. Because we realized we've got like 10 people signed up. This is not going to be the best 7-day or 5-day challenge ever with 10 people. We got to get more people. So I think with the, and you can some people we gave a deal, like we were like affiliate deal. We'll split it with you 50-50, whatever we sell. Some people just did it out of the goodness of their heart. They're like, no, we love you guys. Just come. I'm always looking for people just to give value. So I think with your contacts in that sort of Les Brown arena, all you need is like 3 or 4 higher profile people with big groups, right? Just to bring you in and let you talk a little bit and share your story, give some value that's tied in a little bit to the coaching that you'll offer on the back end, and then, pitch it. It's that whole one. If you can get in front of a lot of people, you'll usually get some sales that way.
Yeah, that's priceless information. Thanks, Evans.
And I would definitely go after people that you know first, because those are so much easier, right? Because it's good to do the other stuff too, but it's a longer, because you don't want to reach out. Like if Laban's like the female like CEO that owns this great group, you don't want to reach out the first time you talk to them and be like, hey, by the way, can I come talk to your people? Right. You got to build that relationship. So asking some of the people just to connect you with other people or whatever. But yeah, I think that would be a good way to do it. I know what's Kim Jacobs, who's, do you know Kim?
No.
Who's like one of Les's. She's a media person. She's like out of Charlotte, North Carolina, but she's been doing like a daily show or something in Les's group. That would be somebody to reach out to. I mean, she's